Before returning to the college entrance exam, I became popular in the scientific community. Hey, fanfic family! So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction, so don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 201 Double Happiness. Wu Tong, have you proved it? Zhou Wenping, waking up from a dream, called Wu Tong, who picked up immediately. Yes, Professor Zhou, I did. I'm just about to print out the manuscript and bring it to your ending pan. Although Zhou Wenping didn't mention it, Wu Tong understood what he meant and replied with a relaxed smile, please correct me, you saw it so quickly, this was unexpected. Mr. Wiles just notified me, he's updating the archive, Wu Tong exclaimed, what a coincidence, she had just uploaded the paper and had just had time to rest and regain her composure. Don't worry, take a good rest. I'll print it out and bring it directly to Dean Pan, Zhou Wenping instructed. Wu Tong must have been exhausted to have solved the Goldbach conjecture in less than 2 weeks. The fact that Wu Tong dared to publish it was a testament to her confidence in her proof. Where would you like to hold a conference? The most efficient way to quickly gain global recognition for a major achievement is to hold a conference. And for Kyoto University, being able to hold such a prestigious conference is no less prestigious than a prestigious International Mathematicians Congress, welcoming the world's top scholars. Its influence is undeniably extraordinary. It's a glory that eclipses even the next street. When Mr. Wiles proved Fermat's last theorem, he held several conferences, only revealing the final answer at the last, a touch of his own. Of course, there are few eccentric individuals. For example, Pergman, who proved the Poincaré conjecture, simply released his results without accepting awards or holding a conference, a truly eccentric and reclusive person. Professors, please make your arrangements. I think it will be the graduation defense. Wu Tong hadn't considered this yet, but she wasn't afraid of the conference. She wasn't some recluse who lived in seclusion. A lecture could bring honor to her alma mater, Shanghai University, and enhance the nation's influence, a reward and an honor for her. Okay, let's discuss it and finalize the specific schedule to coordinate with you. We'll have the lecture, and then we'll just go through the motions for the graduation defense. Using the proof of the Goldbach conjecture for an undergraduate thesis defense was a truly impressive feat, elevating the quality of the undergraduate thesis immensely. They were also planning to discuss whether to award Wu Tong the degree he could, saving him from wasting time, and grant him a formal position. Teacher Zhou, I'm free lately. I'd like to take some time off to go home. Call me if you need anything, Wu Tong announced before hanging up. Perhaps, Wu Tong, you don't have to leave Beijing, Zhou Wenping offered a mysterious reminder, recalling recent rumors. No need to leave Beijing. The call ended, leaving Wu Tong puzzled. How could her parents have time to come to Beijing during the holiday season? Mom was most likely in class. Seeing the time, it was past Dad's usual morning meeting time. Wu Tong called. Dad, hey, Tong, are you done? Wu Jingzhong's voice boomed with joy. Xiaoan had reminded them a few days ago that Tong had been working on a difficult problem lately, so he hadn't called in recent days. He'd been missing his daughter for a long time. Yet, I just finished. I can rest for a while. I want to go home tomorrow, Tong, no need to book a ticket back home. Your mom and I are in Beijing, Wu Jingzhong smiled. Thanks to his daughter, he had truly risen to the top. Your mom and I just finished the paperwork and met up. I'll see you at school later and talk to you in detail, Tong. See you later at Beijing University. Teacher Jin Yu's voice rang out from the phone. A month had passed since the Lunar New Year, and the first lunar month had already passed. They could finally see their daughter again and spend more time with her. In Beijing, handling paperwork? Had anything changed at home while she was busy solving the Goldbach conjecture? And when Shu quietly explained the mystery to Wu Tong, arrangements have been made. Mr. Wu and Teacher Jin have been transferred to Shangjing. Mr. Wu works at the Donghai District Agricultural Bureau, and Teacher Jin has been transferred to teach at the elementary school affiliated to Shangjing University. The elementary school is right across Unitin Road, so Teacher Jin can still work as easily as from home. The district agricultural bureau is also not far away, less than a half-hour drive. Wu Tong had made such great contributions to the country that the higher-ups had been making arrangements since the beginning of the year. While there hadn't been any special promotions for either of them, only lateral transfers, like the ancient practice of favoring parents through favoritism, being transferred from a provincial position to Shangjing was itself a promotion. Positions in Shangjing units have always been a one-to-one arrangement, with few spots and many candidates, resulting in immense competition. But clearly, with the power of the state, this was no problem. So, my parents would be working in Shangjing from now on? Wu Tong was immediately overjoyed. She'd thought to herself, they could return home the moment they left campus and live right at home. Mr. Jin is also settling in. However, the Jin family isn't Wu Tong's direct relatives, nor are Wu Tong's parents part of the internal system, so they can be transferred from the bottom up. Mr. Jin will receive some support from above, but everything else will be up to him to coordinate and arrange. Thank you, that's great. She'll have some time when she's away on projects, but it won't be much. She'll spend more time in Shanghai. Her parents can work there, and her uncle has been preparing for the past year, relocating his business there. This will speed up the process, allowing the family to reunite in Shanghai. When her brother returns home, he can just head straight to Shanghai. These arrangements are merely convenient for Wu Tong's safety. The real reward for Wu Tong's outstanding contributions to the Weilong project, his leadership in the development of the PL-15, and the various supermaterials involved, is still to come. Wu Tong has now achieved another major breakthrough, and as long as the results are verified in the near future, Peking University will not hesitate. However, Wu Tong is currently preoccupied with the good news about her parents in Shanghai, and has little time to think about anything else. At this moment, she was in an even happier mood than when she had just solved the Goldbach conjecture. She was happily tidying herself up, ready to meet her parents in a better spirit. When she was blowing her hair after taking a shower, she touched her long hair that was almost waist-length at the middle of her back. Wu Tong felt that she needed her father's craftsmanship to fix it. She was used to having neat shoulder-length hair, and it was more time-consuming to take care of it now at this length. She had good physical fitness and abundant vitality, and her hair grew faster than that of ordinary people. She changed into the clothes that her family bought for her in the closet, a white turtleneck sweater, beige woolen trousers, and a pink and white double-breasted horn-button coat. She instantly became soft and tender, her age was lowered again, and her youthfulness was invincible. Chapter 202 complete. Wu Tong usually dressed in simple, plain colors, and during her 3 months at the Research Institute, she wore her usual work clothes. She had always been a steady person, but now, after getting dressed like this, and Wenchu, who was waiting in the living room, finally realized that Wu Tong was truly a young girl, not even 18. She gave a thumbs up. Very good, really very beautiful, she thought. Although that word was just a commonplace description for Wu Tong, she smiled sheepishly. It had been a while since she'd worn such a delicate color, and she was still a little uncomfortable. This coat was a special purchase, bought specifically for her aunt and mother, based on their shared tastes. It had been hidden away for ages, but she pulled it out today, hoping to make her parents happy and get used to it. At the gate of Beijing, Wu Tong waited eagerly. She had just contacted her parents and they'd say they were arriving soon. Wu Tong rushed out to greet them, eager to see them first. Finally, a taxi pulled up, and Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu got out. Dad, Mom, Wu Tong happily stepped forward. Jin Yu and Wu Jingzhong happily embraced their daughter, each holding one of their arms. It was wonderful to see Tong again after just over a month. Tong must have worked incredibly hard to complete the important project over there, and the couple felt deeply for her. My Tong is so pretty, Wu Jingzhong beamed with pride. Jin Yu nodded in agreement. Her daughter was at the perfect age to wear bright colors like these. She and her younger siblings had loved the coat the moment they saw it. It was just that the girl had a rather awkward personality and rarely wore bright colors. Tong, let's go home with Uncle and Aunt first, and Wenchu suggested, as Wang Ji drove up in a commercial vehicle with Kei Yi in the passenger seat. The vehicle had been specially modified for Wu Tong's travels. Yes, let's go home first. Wu Jingzhong climbed into the car with his wife and daughter. They had already stocked up their household supplies over the past 2 days so they could have dinner when they got home. However, and Wenchu had made thorough preparations. As soon as they got home, The meal they had ordered was delivered to them, 4 dishes, a soup, and a staple food, all served piping hot. As a life assistant, she was already quite experienced, considering Wu Tong's needs and appreciating his daily life. On the way back, Kei had thoughtfully arranged things and taken a detour to show Wu Tong the location of the Peking University-affiliated primary school. It was roughly midway between Yunnan Community and Peking University, a 10-minute bike ride away, making it a very convenient commute. "Zio K, Zio Wang, Zioin, come on in. I'll whip up a few quick dishes for us to eat together," Wu Jingzhong greeted them warmly. They had troubled someone to pick them up and take their orders, so they couldn't just sit back and enjoy the fruits of their labor. And Wenchu, for example, politely thanked them, saying, "Uncle and Auntie, get together with Wu Tong and chat? We've ordered dinner, okay, then, next time, please come to our house for dinner." We're not strangers. He hadn't had the chance before, but now that he had plenty of time in Beijing, Wu Jingzhong didn't force it. However, he still had to arrange a thank-you dinner to express his gratitude for their thoughtful care of Tong. Even though it was a task, a responsibility, they treated Tong with care, and as parents, they were filled with gratitude. Wu Jingzhong and Jinyu had just arrived in Beijing and had 2 or 3 days to settle in. Wu Tong had just finished a busy project and wasn't planning on starting another project yet, so he took a break to spend time with his parents. The 3 of them, reunited after a long separation, were particularly affectionate. Wu Tong clung to his parents, his mind wandering to nothing. Wu Tong's paper, however, had gained momentum over time, with leading figures verifying and proving the results, sending a wave of excitement around the world. The Goldbach conjecture had been proven. This astonishing news sent shockwaves through the international mathematical community. Since Goldbach's conjecture was proposed in 1742, Goldbach himself was unable to prove it. He therefore wrote to the renowned mathematician Euler, asking for help in proving it. However, Euler remained unsuccessful until his death. In response, Euler presented the now common version of the conjecture: any even number greater than 2 can be expressed as the sum of 2 prime numbers. The statement, any sufficiently large even number can be expressed as the sum of a number of prime factors not exceeding a and another number of prime factors not exceeding b, is written as a plus b. Over 200 years of ups and downs, countless mathematicians have labored, yet no one has yet found a definitive solution to this problem. They had assumed that, like the eternal 50-year curse of controlled nuclear fusion, the Goldbach conjecture would remain unsolved in this century. However, unexpectedly, in such an unremarkable period, the Goldbach conjecture was quietly solved. However, everyone who saw the name on the paper, not even quite surprised, sighed, "It's her. It's indeed her, this century's most gifted and renowned Oriental son, the prover of Zhou's conjecture, the twin prime conjecture, and the Polignac conjecture, Wu Tong. Indeed, she is the only one alive who is closest to solving the Goldbach conjecture." The proof of the Goldbach conjecture also officially declared that Wu Tong had given a complete answer to the 8th question of Hilbert's 23, completely resolving the problem at the beginning of this century. When Gauss was alive, they were delighted and amazed. This century, they have Wu Tong. 3 days after Wu Tong's paper was published, Terence Tao was the first to post 2 exclaiming Facebook messages: "Thank you, Wu Tong, for providing a clear answer to the Goldbach conjecture. She is approaching the truth. A guiding sun has risen in the mathematical world. Congratulations to Wu Tong for winning the crown jewel of number theory. I am deeply impressed by the radiant sun shining upon the mathematical world. Once again, I applaud the progress of mathematics and the young people in mathematics. You have achieved something I have never achieved." Andrew Wiles also left to comment on social media, "Used rigor and fluency. Wu Tong's style is impeccable. Wu Tong, the sun from the east, has shown me what true mathematical genius is. Wu Tong, when will the Goldbach conjecture conference be held? Please be sure to invite me. I would be honored to attend." Several other prominent figures followed suit, some even registering on social media for the first time, just to be the first to congratulate the world on the proof of the Goldbach conjecture. It has always been the case that good news blooms at home and spreads abroad. When many international leaders spoke one after another and well-known foreign media reported the news, the official newspaper was the first to offer congratulations, using the size of many top leaders as an introduction, which kicked off the domestic media's eagerness to lag behind. In an instant, this good news once again dominated the entire internet. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Thinking of You. Previously, Wu Tong had been unable to personally accept the 3 awards, citing her research projects as a reason for not being able to attend. Many attendees were critical of her and expressed dissatisfaction. They felt that Wu Tong, relying on her own achievements, had become tainted with the typical arrogance of a young genius, and hadn't even been invited to the awards ceremony. Some even expressed distrust of her future, believing her achievements would ultimately cease. However, at this moment, everyone fell silent. It wasn't that Wu Tong was arrogant, but rather that their thinking was narrow-minded. When Wu Tong claimed to be researching a topic, she truly was. The proof of the Goldbach conjecture was the ultimate proof, a resounding slap in the face to those who had held preconceived notions. It was Wu Tong's most powerful rebuttal. From the presentation of the proof of the Polygnat conjecture at the International Congress of Mathematicians to the present, only 6 months had passed. Wu Tong had spent just 6 months proving the Goldbach conjecture. This gave a perfect answer to the conjecture, which had lingered for 2 centuries, and also definitively defined the conjecture of his predecessor, Goldbach. If they were working on a crucial topic, they would likely make the same choice. Rather than accepting awards and tarnishing the purity of mathematics, they would rather seize the spark of inspiration and climb to conquer the Goldbach conjecture. Nothing is more important than achieving this remarkable feat. Wu Tong's choice couldn't be more correct. News of Wu Tong's successful proof of the Goldbach conjecture spread globally, temporarily dispelling the skeptical gazes directed at her. No one believed that someone could achieve something beyond solving such a challenging mathematical problem. China's new technology likely has little to do with this theoretical mathematician. It would be best for this young mathematician to remain focused on theory. Theory is innocent and shared by the world. Theory that can't be translated into practical technology would be her safest shield. For now, some hyenas have labeled Wu Tong harmless, viewing her as a front for China's mathematical revitalization. However, given her current achievements, she remains on the watch list. For an outstanding mathematician who wishes to transition to a more confidential field, it's relatively easy to achieve results. Wu Tong hadn't realized she'd escaped a disaster for now, but now her phone was about to explode with calls. Major media outlets were sending interview requests, and various channels had found Wu Tong's external phone number. Wu Tong simply informed those closest to her and turned off her phone, severing all ties. The constant ringing was disrupting her and her parents' daily lives. She'd resume using it when the hype died down. For truly important matters, she could still reach her confidential internal phone. Wu Tong wasn't one for boasting, or bragging about her accomplishments with her family. It was then that her family learned that their child had solved another world-renowned problem, the highly acclaimed and enshrined Goldbach conjecture. 1 + 1, Goldbach conjecture. Tong, you've solved the Goldbach conjecture, surprise spread throughout the family. Back then, during that special time, Mr. Jingren had proved the 1 + 2 parts of the Goldbach conjecture. The new China, having struggled to establish itself and constantly striving for development, needed such encouraging news, proving its ability to outperform the West. This event was given extensive coverage and separate coverage at the time. Thus, it was accomplished. While many may not have any knowledge of mathematics, the vast majority of that generation knew the Goldbach conjecture. Knowing 1 + 2 and 1 + 1, the Goldbach conjecture, and its significance to China were different. The elders of the Jin family, Wu Jingzhong and his wife, were from the generation. While people may not know its specific meaning, they do know that it was truly remarkable. Now, Wu Tong has built upon this legacy, completely proving the Goldbach conjecture, a concept unique to China. This conjecture, once again, rests in the hands of a Chinese, deeply etched with the Chinese people's name. People across China, witnessing this news, were filled with pride. Spontaneous celebrations and heated discussions propelled Wu Tong to the forefront of discussion once again. While Wu Tong wasn't a celebrity, at this moment, she undoubtedly possessed the immense popularity of a top-tier star. She was truly the nation's daughter, the very embodiment of the children that couples around the world dreamed of. Jinzin felt that he'd only been in seclusion for a week, and yet his sister had already broken another world record. When he called to congratulate her, Jinzin gave her a thumbs up. Amazing. My sister is amazing. She's leading the whole family to victory without a second thought. I feel like I can finally relax, he was calling Jinyu. Brother, you have to keep working hard. I'm waiting for you to work on a project together. In response to Jinzin's witty remarks, Wu Tong resorted to harsh tactics. Siblings bickering was truly heartbreaking. Oh, Tong, my heart is broken, the kind that can't be mended. Jinzin's playful antics amused Wu Tong, along with Jinyu and Wu Jingzhong. Jinzin remained as lively as ever, seemingly unburdened by military school life. Jinzin hung up the phone with a bitter face. He needed to push himself harder, squeeze more time and energy out of himself. If he could squeeze, he could still make further progress. The next person in line went in to contact his family. The wry smile on his face when he came out made a group of classmates who had come over to try to find a signal to make a phone call ask him questions without concern. What's going on? Is there something wrong at home? If there's anything, just tell us. We're all brothers in this together. If we work together, we can overcome our shortcomings. Let's work together to find a solution. Facing the concern of his roommate, Jinzin wiped his face and said, It's okay. This is a happy occasion. I have to work harder to face the long-range attack from my little sister, the academic genius at home. Third brother, you're already showing off enough. If you keep showing off, will anyone be able to survive? The roommate on the upper bunk put a heavy hand on Jinzin's shoulder. He was more concerned about the little sister that Jinzin often mentioned than Jinzin. Is our little sister still in high school? How are her grades? Does she need tutoring? Does she have any plans to get into our school? If we don't introduce her to someone, we brothers are all upright and role models. You see, otherwise, the wealth will be kept within the family. Their college has an unbalanced gender ratio. If they don't explore their own resources, finding a wife in the future will be a major challenge. A comrade's sister is their sister. If the opportunity arises, they can call her something more intimate. A roommate with a younger sister is a potential future brother-in-law. Go, Jinzin reacted, and with a scissor-handed move, he crushed his brother to tears. He treated her like a brother, and she was thinking about his sister? This was intolerable. Don't even think about it. Tong took the lead. If a so-called brother dared to think about his sister, he would break his legs and throw him to the Arctic bears. Chapter 204 Love. Jinzin, you're such a sister con, you forget your brothers when you have a sister. Haha, Jinzin pressed harder, smirking. It wasn't the first time he'd heard that he prioritized his sister above all else. His sister, who could compare? He'd tell you so he wouldn't scare you. He didn't mention Tong's name, that was a kindness. Invitations and inquiries poured in from home and abroad, asking about lectures, wanting to invite Wu Tong to give a lecture tour. For the first time, the staff at Kyoto University experienced what it meant to be overwhelmed. The presentation on the proof of the Goldbach conjecture is tentatively scheduled for March 29 at the Shangjing Conference Center, with an expected capacity of 4,000 people. Zhou Wenping and Wu Tong discussed the university's preparations and arrangements. This was Kyoto University's first time hosting such a major demonstration, and while they were overjoyed, they also worried about being too ostentatious and losing the dignity and character of a prestigious university. It was rare for Kyoto University, usually so dignified and calm, to even feel a sense of unease. Of course, they were also delighted and proud of this state of mind. It was something the neighbors only dreamed of. Is there enough time? Despite her confidence in Wu Tong, Zhou Wenping still worried that the deadline would force Wu Tong to prepare fully. This was Wu Tong's first initiative to present his work to the world, and if things went wrong, it would be an unimaginable blow to him. They wanted to showcase Wu Tong's achievements to the world, but they also wanted to be cautious. Trying to have the best of both worlds always felt difficult. All they could do was prepare. When the time came, it would be Wu Tong who would be presenting to the world's mathematicians. Just imagine the pressure Wu Tong would have to bear. It's enough, Professor Zhou. I will give it my all and live up to the glory of China and Peking University, Wu Tong assured Zhou Wenping firmly, giving her teacher the confidence that she would not let down her team on such a crucial occasion. Presenting a new achievement, facing the nitpicking of mathematicians from around the world, would be no easy task. The difficulty was imaginable. But so what? With her improved mathematical skills, Wu Tong now takes many problems for granted. She has enough confidence to face the imminent challenges and make the storm even more intense. China's national prestige is evident. Chinese people are capable of achieving remarkable mathematical feats. They are not just good at solving problems, as some across the CMOC. Exam-oriented and compulsory education are often derided by those who look down on China, but this represents the nation's unwavering commitment to providing a platform for education for all eligible children. Although China started late, it is striving tirelessly to close the gap with the world. The mighty dragon of the East has awakened, welcoming the world with a renewed spirit. Tong, are you giving another academic conference? Wu Jingzhong and others asked after Wu Tong hung up the phone. They truly understood the term academic conference, especially after Tong gave her first, and they had a particularly thorough understanding of it. Yes, the proof of the Goldbach conjecture needs to be considered by mathematicians around the world. Wu Tong nodded in confirmation. Dad, Mom, do you want to attend? Can we? Jinyu was a little unsure. Tong had advanced in mathematics and was internationally renowned. They had long since fallen behind Tong's progress. Those who attend such a conference are all mathematicians, right? Your dad and I are far behind them. They really wanted to attend. As parents, how could they not want to witness their child's demeanor at such a grand event? Even if they couldn't do much, cheering Tong on from the audience would be a good thing. However, they were worried that they wouldn't understand anything and going there would be a waste of their spot. If people knew about it, they would just laugh at Tong. Of course we can. I have an invitation, and it's not limited to mathematicians. If even Mom and Dad weren't qualified to attend this conference, then her hosting of it would be meaningless. There will definitely be more seats than visitors. You guys can help me keep things organized so there aren't too few people showing up, which would be a shame. Wu Tong deliberately played pitiful to reassure her parents about attending the conference. This happens in society. Few people are interested in academic conferences, so to make things look good, they'll bring in some students or passers-by to warm up the atmosphere. Of course, she figured, given the appeal of the Goldbach conjecture, even if the 4,000 reserved seats weren't full, it wouldn't be too bad. It didn't matter if her parents didn't understand, no one would laugh at them. Few attendees could keep up with her pace. Mathematical research becomes a smaller and smaller community as you advance. However, just because so few people understand it doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue it. Mathematics is the foundation of all science. It can be said that every major advancement in human history has been underpinned by the powerful support of mathematics. Wu Tong explained to her parents the significance of her mathematical research. While her parents weren't highly educated, they were both highly regarded university graduates from the 1980s and 1990s. One worked for many years in a government department, and the other taught elementary school mathematics. Her ability to understand and accept things far surpasses that of an average person. Okay, we'll support you. Upon hearing their daughter's request, Wu Jingzhong and Jinyu immediately agreed without hesitation. Even if they didn't understand, they had to pretend to understand, so as not to embarrass their daughter. Jinyu felt she should discuss this with her husband and make sure to take careful notes. Now that the child wasn't home and didn't need their attention, they used their free time, in addition to exercising, to pick up math, which they had neglected for years. They weren't aiming for brilliance, but at least they knew how to understand the basics of Goldbach's conjecture, the NS equation, and the twin prime conjecture. Learning is lifelong. More learning and more thinking can prevent Alzheimer's disease and help fill boredom. Couples now have more topics to discuss and improve each other, a win-win situation all at once. This self-disciplined learning and improvement has given Jinyu a richer and more comprehensive understanding of her career, enhancing her overall perspective compared to her previous, more skillful teaching. Even after being transferred to Beijing to teach thanks to her daughter's influence, Jinyu felt no fear, but rather joy. Having a better platform for development. She believed her husband felt the same way. They gradually sensed the allure of learning and slowly understood the joy of their daughter's passion for learning once she began to understand. Those who wholeheartedly devote themselves to their studies don't find learning boring, their hearts and minds are enriched. They felt more at ease, no longer worried that their daughter, absorbed in her studies and unwilling to socialize or play, would become withdrawn. Chapter 205 Meeting. To the surprise of Kyoto University and Wu Tong, the 4,000 seats they had reserved were completely insufficient. The eager applicants far exceeded the quota. After the date and location of the Goldbach Conjecture Symposium were confirmed, applications poured in like a tidal wave. The combined appeal of Wu Tong and the Goldbach Conjecture exceeded everyone's expectations. In a short period of time, Nearly 10,000 people from both domestic and international venues had registered, leaving the Shenzhen Conference Center completely unable to accommodate such a large number of attendees. For a moment, Kyoto University's senior management was unsure whether to celebrate the arrival of so many mathematicians or fret about finding a venue for such a large crowd. Everyone was stunned, amused, and inconsolable. Of course, after a brief moment of distress, a secret joy took over. This was a sweet little burden, not a burden. With her parents officially back at work, Wu Tong, after a few days' break, returned to school to prepare for the symposium and, incidentally, to derive another practical aspect of her research on projectile materials, specialized steels. Just as they were listing venues capable of hosting a conference of 10,000 people, a notice arrived, allocating the largest 10,000-person conference hall at the Great Hall of the People for Wu Tong to hold an academic conference. The Great Hall of the People, Wu Tong, hearing Zhou Wenping's news in person, was somewhat incredulous. She could hold an academic conference in such a sacred place? It was truly an honor. According to her grandfather, it would be a truly glorious surprise, bringing honor to the family. Yes, the Great Hall of the People, Zhou Wenping smiled, nodding in confirmation. He wasn't joking. Zhou Wenping was both surprised and expected by this decision. Wu Tong's achievements were a source of glory for China, making it a global sensation. Wu Tong had become, arguably, a new face of Chinese mathematics. It was even said that Wu Tong's contributions to the nation, while privately kept secret, were perhaps even more significant. Providing Wu Tong with this convenience was a normal arrangement. Even more shocking was the next piece of news. He introduced Wu Tong to a warm-faced, distinguished man beside him. "This is Secretary Yang from the National Academy Secretariat. Hello, Director Yang, thank you for your trouble." Wu Tong thanked him, and the National Academy even sent someone to contact her. "You've caused trouble for the country." Her teachers had taught her that secretaries in secretarial departments are generally office directors, so calling her Director Yang was a sure thing. "Hello, just call me Little Yang." Having proven such a cutting-edge conjecture, Wu Tong's importance was now greater than that of an academician. While he was indeed an office director, he didn't deserve the honorific title of Director Yang from such a leading scholar. The Chinese mathematical community needed a representative figure like Wu Tong, especially one so young, capable of maintaining a long-term presence in the field, and truly of Chinese nationality and ethnicity. They had previously missed out on people like Mr. Chu and Terence Tao, and now that Wu Tong had appeared, if they couldn't seize the opportunity, they would be in dire straits. Wu Tong has now garnered international fame and attention. She has received countless invitations from prestigious international universities and mathematics-related organizations, offering numerous offers, alluring and captivating. Even more captivating than these allures is the even more remarkable academic atmosphere. According to recent developments, the mathematical Mecca of Paris, the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, these highly coveted institutions, have extended sincere invitations to Wu Tong, offering her any terms she wishes. "Student Wu Tong, is your time convenient? The elder wishes to meet you, and I would be honored to receive you." Even Zhou Wenping, with his current state of mind, couldn't help but feel envious at the invitation. Although he held a high-ranking position at Peking University, he had never personally spoken with the elder. He wasn't yet worthy of being received by him. Yet, Wu Tong already had such an opportunity, based not on the leader's availability but on his own, a truly enviable privilege. "Of course, I'm honored. Please arrange it." Wu Tong was so surprised to be received by the elder that she was a little overwhelmed. She was truly unprepared and couldn't take it lightly. After calming down a bit, Wu Tong immediately nodded in confirmation. It was not like she had never met high-ranking leaders before. Leaders Wu and Liu, who had visited before, were both high-ranking officials in the department. General Manager Lin and Minister Chu were also leaders of the Aerospace and Scientific Research Department. However, this one was completely different from those leaders. "The car is waiting downstairs. Please come in." The talented scholar was not arrogant, and the work went smoothly. Secretary Yang's attitude was even more friendly. Wu Tong packed up her things, said goodbye to Zhou Wenping, and followed Secretary Yang into the special car parked downstairs, heading to the National Academy. Secretary Yang had already reported to the National Academy before departure. Upon arriving at the National Academy, Secretary Yang led Wu Tong into a spacious reception room. The reception room was simply decorated, yet it had a solemn atmosphere. The red flag inserts on the table were the best decoration. The leader has made time as quickly as possible. I'll be here in 10 minutes. Please wait. Secretary Yang raised his hand to check the time and said softly. The leader needs to focus on state affairs first. I'm not in a hurry, Wu Tong nodded gently. She wasn't very sociable to begin with, and she didn't think she'd have any future interactions with Secretary Yang. The thought of trying to establish a relationship with her, and then socializing with her, was out of the question. Wu Tong stared intently at the red flag on the table, mentally continuing her previous deduction. The lack of a pen and notebook didn't hinder her performance. The deduction process and results would be firmly stored in her memory, ready to be transcribed later. Secretary Yang's timing was impeccable. 10 minutes later, the reception room door was gently pushed open, and a familiar face, often seen on TV news, stepped in. The elder, barely over 50, less than 60, still had jet black hair and an imposing demeanor. He looked at Wu Tong and said warmly, "Students Wu Tong, I'm sorry to have you here so hastily." With Wu Tong's achievements and contributions, he was worthy of the honorific title of a national hero. He extended his hands and shook Wu Tong's. "Please forgive my impatience. I've been wanting to wait for you to finish your work so I can find time to talk to you." Wu Tong shook his hands and said excitedly, "It's my honor to meet you. It's not surprising to meet me. Your achievements in mathematics and contributions to the country are what I should thank you for on behalf of the country." The elder was extremely affable towards Wu Tong. At his age, if he were a few years older, he would be Wu Tong's grandfather. He smiled kindly and guided Wu Tong to a seat next to him. Secretary Yang brewed 2 cups of tea and then left the meeting room. Chapter 206 Treasure. Ever since you proved Zhou's conjecture, the country has been watching you. At that time, we felt that our country would also produce a top scholar with true Chinese nationality in the future. We are very happy that a promising talent like you has emerged in basic science. However, we were all short-sighted, the elder sighed softly, more like a sigh of relief. They thought that even if this child matured, it would take at least several years. Unexpectedly, in just 3 or 4 months, one major breakthrough after another, this child has established international renown. In such a short period of time, the seedling has grown into a towering tree. Her growth rate has far exceeded everyone's expectations. If their mathematical achievements have already amazed them, this child has turned to the field of materials engineering, and has continued to perform miracles. The twin prime conjecture, the Polignac conjecture, the limit solution of nonlinear equations, the Goldbach conjecture, the country owes you a debt of gratitude for having Chinese people write their names on these world-class mathematical problems. T4 titanium aluminum alloy, T5 blade materials, groundbreaking new aviation materials, the aerodynamic layout design of the Dragon, parameter optimization of the WS-15, Jin's ballistic design, N24 bidirectional high-energy materials, N18 naturally decomposable materials, ultra-high temperature-resistant coatings, Scramjet dual-pulse compression engines, Mach 4 special steel body materials, and the world-class PL-15 air-to-air missile. These achievements, these major breakthroughs you have brought to the country, are remembered by the country. The country owes you a deep gratitude for adding powerful weapons to the country and strengthening China's international standing. The great nation, standing tall in the East and striving to rise, faces countless challenges and pressures. The threat of war, economic difficulties, political isolation. Ultimately, it's because China is not strong enough. As our ancestors said, power grows out of the barrel of a gun. If they are strong enough, no egg will clash with a stone. Chinese scientific research had a difficult start. The country has stepped up efforts to cultivate scientific talent, but compared to the country's development needs, it remains a drop in the bucket. They desperately need a guiding star. If Lu Xiao's appearance was a pleasant surprise to the country, then Wu Tong's appearance is like the sun piercing the sky, making them cheer. The time for China's rise has come. Wu Tong's excellence has exceeded everyone's imagination. In just 1 year, he has achieved so many significant achievements. He's a well-deserved treasure of China. You flatter me. I have only made some insignificant achievements. It is an honor to help the country with such a small thing. All the things mentioned above are actually developed based on the PL-15 project. The leader listed them one by one, making Wu Tong feel a little embarrassed. I also want to thank the country for giving me this opportunity, trusting me, and entrusting me with such an important responsibility. Also, Thanks to Hua Yangxing's chief designer and all the scientific researchers on the project team, my research has progressed smoothly, leading to the successful development of the PL-15 air-to-air missile. Everyone loves a humble child. The elder's expression grew increasingly affable, never taking credit for himself or being arrogant. He remained humble, a true child of China. Having just completed the PL-15 project, you should rest. Your health is a national treasure, the elder said with concern. Yes, I took a break. Researching a favorite topic is a different kind of rest for me. I love the rewarding feeling of tackling it. I applied for the Goldbach conjecture project last year, and the government allocated funding. I'm so sorry that I temporarily accepted Mr. Hua's request, which delayed the project's progress. It's been on hold, and I haven't been able to produce results soon. I've been working on it sporadically before, and it just so happened that after I came back, I found a research direction during my break in study. It went smoothly, and I finally solved it in one fell swoop. Perhaps for others, researching academic projects is difficult and tiring. But for Wu Tong, she learned during her rest. This time, the natural convergence, unlike the previous bursts of inspiration, was a refreshing breakthrough, a satisfying solution. For her, it truly was a different kind of rest. The elder smile deepened. The project had been in place for less than 6 months, and in the meantime, it had produced so many significant results for the country. In Wu Tong's eyes, this was still considered slow. It seems that the concept of time for ordinary people is different from that of time for geniuses. The young student clearly didn't have a clear understanding of the importance of her research. However, that didn't matter. Wu Tong could maintain her character. The country cared about her, and it would certainly not let down a child who had devoted so much to the nation. Are you confident about this presentation? Are you under a lot of pressure? He had also received reports that Wu Tong's academic conference would attract nearly 10,000 attendees, including many world-renowned mathematicians. Since the venue previously reserved at Peking University was insufficient, he decided to use the Great Hall of the People's 10,000-person conference hall as the main venue for Wu Tong's academic conference. The Great Hall of the People's protective power would also better safeguard the safety of these Chinese treasures. Nothing was more important than Wu Tong's safety. Only by ensuring Wu Tong's safety could they hope for more in the future. Yes, don't worry, I will never bring shame to China, Wu Tong said firmly. She would be fully prepared to face any doubts and questions, and successfully hold this academic conference, living up to the expectations of the country, the university, and all those who cared about her. Good, the country trusts you. The elder's brows softened, and he sighed. When I first started working, I learned about the Goldbach conjecture while reporting on Mr. Jing Run. The chief architect at the time even praised it. However, these conjectures were too technical for ordinary people like us to understand. Now, this difficult problem has finally been completely and successfully resolved by you. The most gratifying thing was that it was China that brought this conclusion. After completing this project, are you going to graduate? What are your plans next? I probably still have to do my graduation thesis defense. Wu Tong was surprised that the other party, who was busy with all kinds of affairs and focused on national affairs, could still pay attention to such a small matter of hers. She was deeply moved. Also, there's a small project that needs experimental verification. It's a variant I derived based on Mach 4 special steel, which focuses more on earthquake resistance, high toughness, and high strength. My model predicts that it can withstand earthquakes of magnitude 8 and above, and the production cost is similar to that of ordinary steel today. Could you give me a pen and paper? I've recently completed the rough deduction of the model ratio for the special steel, and I also roughly determined the preparation process before meeting you. I'm sorry to come to you empty-handed, so I'd like to take down the ratio and process as a gift for our first meeting. Chapter 207, Heavy Gifts. The deduction manuscript was too daunting for someone not at the top of her profession. Her intention wasn't to show off her skills. It was simply that the opportunity arose to hand over her findings to someone who could maximize their impact on the people. I'm deeply ashamed to accept this, Wu Tong. Thank you for your selfless dedication to the country. I will certainly live up to your trust and make the best use of it. The elder solemnly accepted the manuscript from Wu Tong. He hadn't expected that Wu Tong, after completing such a significant achievement as proving the Goldbach conjecture, would also contribute such significant scientific research to the nation. China is vast, rich in resources, and boasts complex mountainous terrain. Many areas within it are prone to natural disasters, especially earthquakes, which are difficult to prevent. There are many areas within the country prone to frequent, even frequent, earthquakes, many of which are even important cities with large populations. Every earthquake brings great sorrow and loss to the country and the people in the affected areas. Earthquakes hang like a sword, demanding everyone's vigilance. The 2008 Wenchun earthquake was a source of irreversible grief and sorrow. It must not be forgotten, nor must the threat of earthquakes. Tong has now developed a special steel material capable of withstanding strong earthquakes, costing only as much as ordinary steel. If it can be widely adopted, the Chinese people will have a strong defense against natural disasters. Modern building structures are primarily reinforced concrete, with strong steel creating earthquake-resistant reinforcement. Combined with high-strength earthquake-resistant design, this will significantly improve housing security in China. The heartbreaking incident in Wenchun will never be repeated. The elder expressed his sincere gratitude to the nation's meritorious officials, its future. Student Tong, thank you again for your selfless contributions to the country. The nation will surely live up to your expectations. You have given the nation a gift, and the nation has received it. The nation will also give you a gift. I hope you enjoy it. The elder smiled warmly and handed a document to Tong, inviting him to flip through it with an expectant look. Tong opened it and took in the contents. Her pupils shrank in shock, and she looked at the other party in disbelief. Is this building a research institute for me? Yes, the country will not let down any citizen who contributes to the country. We've been thinking about how to thank you properly. With a rate to refreshing your scholarship, a monetary reward doesn't seem to be your most urgent need. Housing rewards, Peking University has already arranged it in advance. Considering your wide range of expertise, the country has decided to build you a multifunctional and comprehensive research institute. The location has been designated, and it's within the Peking University area you're familiar with. It will be delivered within 3 months, and you can choose the name to facilitate your future research. We also look forward to your continued support for the country. Thank you country. I will definitely live up to your expectations. Every little thing she did was remembered by the country. The country was thinking of her. Tong was instantly moved, almost tears welling up in her eyes. She suppressed her excitement and made a serious promise. Don't be too serious. Your health is the most important thing. Results will come naturally. You can't always work hard. You still need to balance work and rest. You have a long future ahead of you. As long as you are safe and secure, you will be the country's greatest asset, the elder warned earnestly. The country built a research institute for you to reward your contributions and to better serve you, not to add to your burden. The country is not going to put all the national pressure on a child who is about to grow up. The basic equipment of the institute will be laid by the research department in cooperation with Peking University and national defense colleges. We will select completely reliable personnel to join the laboratory and assign professional auxiliary management personnel to help you with overall management. If Tong wants to manage the institute on her own, the management team will withdraw from the institute after guiding Tong on the right track. If Tong prefers to focus on research, the management team will only be her right-hand man and help her deal with miscellaneous matters. The institute's oversight is directly under the highest national authority, preventing any attempt to manipulate Tong. It is not subject to any other jurisdiction, and security is handled by the National Security Department, maintaining the highest level of secrecy. Given Tong's previous achievements, confidentiality and security, as well as laboratory personnel, must be thoroughly investigated. Only those loyal to the nation and absolutely reliable can minimize, if not eliminate, the risk of leaks. Tong has dedicated his talents to the nation, and the nation will surely treat him with the same respect. Based solely on Tong's previous achievements, the nation has achieved very little. Of course, the personnel we have in place are only the foundation. The true core elite still need Tong. You should recruit and train them yourself. Due to domestic trends, even those capable, industry leaders working independently are typically a certain age, at least a generation older than Tong. Few would be willing to sacrifice their dignity and work under a young man like Tong. Consequently, they refrained from imposing strict assignments, allowing Tong to recruit and train the institute's personnel himself for greater ease in collaboration. The talents Tong cultivates will also contribute to national development, and the country's investment is minimal. Thank you, Elder, you've taken more than enough trouble. Tong stood up to express her gratitude. With this platform, she could fully devote herself to her research career after arranging her graduation defense. The country's future still depends on young people like you. We sincerely hope that more talents will emerge to contribute to national development. That's all for today, so as not to waste your precious time. I'll have a chance to speak with you again next time. The elder stood up and patted Wu Tong's shoulder encouragingly, expressing his hope. I'll look forward to reporting back to you on your achievements. Then it's a deal. Wu Tong nodded vigorously, a promise made. After saying goodbye, Wu Tong, escorted by Secretary Yang, returned to Peking University. What she had promised her superiors would be the focus of her future efforts. She enjoyed the pursuit of knowledge and the process of research. If the results could help the country in some way, it felt like she had put her money to good use. The significant national award was something she hadn't expected, and it moved her deeply. A scholar dies for his friend, and she pledged both for her country. Wu Tong asked Sister Ng to reply to all the invitations and offers she received, but she had no intention of responding and subsequently ignored them. With the publication of her research and her review duties, her inbox was often overflowing. After Sister Ng took over her duties, Wu Tong transferred her email permissions to Wenshu. She would select the ones she needed to respond to personally, freeing up time for them. She left the rest of the process to Wenshu's discretion. Next, Wu Tong would fully prepare for the competition, facing the test of the world under the watchful eyes of the world. She was ready. Chapter 208 Attention. Amidst widespread anticipation, March 29th arrived as scheduled. In the 2 or 3 days leading up to the event, Shanghai International Airport saw a surge in international arrivals. Inside the airport, visitors from around the globe could be seen, all sharing a similar scholarly aura, all with a single purpose: to witness the miracle of proving the Goldbach conjecture, the jewel of number theory. Shanghai International Airport, tasked with the event, had arranged a week in advance for volunteers to take charge of the reception. Signs marked with international and most widely used languages were erected at the airport exits to guide the arriving scholars. Shuttle buses were stationed outside, ready to assist visiting scholars. Starting with this academic conference, Shanghai had already begun comprehensive preparations for its urban appearance and security, striving to present a fresh, clean, and safe image of the new Chinese capital to visiting scholars from around the world. The last time such a grand occasion was held in Shanghai was the 2002 International Congress of Mathematicians and the even more spectacular 2008 Olympic Games. Major industrial groups seeking collaboration with these mathematical giants also dispatched key executives to visit or encounter these visiting experts to explore potential collaborations. The importance of mathematics as the foundation of all disciplines is self-evident. Only those with expertise can understand the efficiency of applying mathematics to applied fields. With so many mathematicians visiting Zhonghua and Shenzhen, even if only a tiny fraction chooses to collaborate with Zhonghua, given the sheer number, it would still be a remarkable achievement. Scholars seeking to expand their network or simply explore mathematics also initiated small-scale discussions. Wu Tong's academic conference had a far greater impact than just a single presentation. Of course, the most important reason for the many scholars visiting Zhonghua was to attend Wu Tong's academic presentation on the proof of the Goldbach conjecture. As Shenzhen residents, constantly attuned to national affairs, taxi drivers were known for their lively conversation, eagerly discussing conjectures and the millennium problem. At this moment, the mathematical atmosphere in Shenzhen was unprecedented, a vibrant atmosphere where mathematical research and discussion seemed ubiquitous. The bewildered foreign visitors were astonished. China's mathematical culture is so strong that anyone can speak a word or two about math. It's no wonder they could nurture a prodigy like Wu Tong. Major media outlets arranged live coverage, drawing the nation's attention to this grand event. Look forward to March 29th. Our God will shine at the Great Hall of the People. The Goldbach conjecture proves China's glory, and it truly depends on our God. It's only natural that our God will solve the millennium problem. All things return to our God, and our God is mighty. Once you meet our God, you'll be forever lost, and mathematics will always be with you. Follow our God's footsteps, the pits of mathematics, the first of the 4 great lunatic asylums. Here I come. Awesome. Wishing you all the best, a brilliant college entrance exam, and aspiring graduate students at Peking University. I'll look forward to the opportunity to study under our God. See you at the Great Hall of the People on March 29th. I bow down to you, great man. Please give us our greetings to our God. Thank you, God. Bring glory to China. Thinking about the attacks our God will soon face from scholars around the world, I'm so nervous and proud. Tao, I knew you wouldn't miss this event. Andrew Wiles, on the bus to his hotel, bumped into Terence Tao, who had arrived on a short flight. He greeted him warmly. Good afternoon, Mr. Wiles, Mr. Deline, Mr. Feynman, Mr. Langlands, Mr. Witten. Tao glanced at everyone on the bus and greeted them one by one. Was Princeton closed for the holidays? So many big names were dispatched at once, almost all of them showing up here, traveling on a chartered flight? And now they're on the reception bus again? Yes, I definitely wouldn't miss it. This is the proof of the Goldbach conjecture. I've read the paper. It's Wu Tong's usual rigorous, flawless, and smooth work. I can't find a fault. I'm honored to witness the finale in person. As someone from Berkeley, he felt a bit of a lone warrior. There's a song in China called, "He Should Be Under the Car, Not Inside It." Good afternoon, Tao, and so do we. Deline and the other bigwigs nodded earnestly. Tao, I heard there's a lot of delicious food in China. There's something like a hamburger, like a raw GMO, with thick slices of meat stuffed with bread? Sounds amazing. There's also Shengjing roast duck and shabu shabu, right? Andrew Wiles thought that since Tao was of Chinese descent, he should know more about Chinese cuisine than they did. They were here, but they had to try the local food. He'd had some delicious Chinese food before, and he'd already enthusiastically recommended it to his colleagues, and he wanted to try more. Our slogan is, try all the delicious Chinese food. China is a nation of culinary culture, with a vast and profound cuisine. The 8 most famous cuisines are Shandong, Sichuan, Cantonese, Fujian, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Hunan, and there are all sorts of snacks and famous dishes. Andrew, if you want to taste all the delicious Chinese food, you might not even be able to leave one province in a year, Tao said matter-of-factly. He wasn't optimistic about Andrew's ambitions. As a Chinese American, he was undoubtedly more knowledgeable about China than these people, yet he still hadn't tasted all the delicious Chinese food. It was a greedy decision. Raodangamo is like a hamburger, with a meat chopped up and stuffed inside. It's not a meat-filled bun. Jiamo is a cooking method. The full meaning should be a meat-filled bun. Tao naturally spread the common sense. Although he wasn't particularly authentic, he was at least more adaptable and knowledgeable than these genuine Western visitors. The arrival of leading international mathematicians, including Fields medalists, Abel Prize winners, and Wolf Prize winners, was a star-studded gathering. Almost all of the world's most renowned mathematicians, unless unable to travel, attended the conference, elevating the event to a climax comparable to an international congress of mathematicians. Many renowned Chinese mathematicians exclaimed, "This is Wu Tong, this is the Goldbach conjecture, the combined power of the two is truly astonishing." Numerous math enthusiasts and domestic and international media also gathered in Beijing to witness the definitive proof of the Goldbach conjecture. Amidst much anticipation, the Great Hall of the People welcomed the distinguished guests on March 29. Chapter 209, Grand Occasion. By 9 o'clock in the morning, the Great Hall of the People's 10,000-person conference hall was packed to the brim, a throng of people buzzing and thronging everywhere. The actual attendance for this lecture even exceeded the number of pre-registered attendees, truly exceeding 10,000. This was a historic event. The rigorously trained professional staff, in part serving as security, assisted each other in a rigorous and orderly manner, arranging each guest's arrival. They were all professionally trained and had conducted mock drills beforehand. Although they were genuinely surprised by the number of attendees, they maintained proper etiquette and handled the situation with care. Authorized media outlets were already in place, and the visiting reporters were in awe of the spectacle. A single mathematical problem had attracted over 10,000 people. Wu Tong's impressive credentials were truly remarkable. The Goldbach conjecture was truly extraordinary. Faltings, you're here too. The Princeton crowd nodded in greeting to a serious-looking man in a gray trench coat and top hat. A master in algebraic geometry, the prover of the mortal conjecture. This person was once their colleague. Of course, a major event in mathematics, how could I miss it? Faltings raised an eyebrow. He and Wu Tong had long been friends, and he had also been following this rising star in mathematics. He and Schultz had recommended him for the Humboldt Prize. Schultz, at this moment, the others noticed that sitting next to Faltings was none other than Peter Schultz, one of Germany's most formidable rising talents and a strong contender for 2 future Fields medals. He was Germany's youngest W3 professor. Before Wu Tong's sudden emergence, this man was one of the most dazzling talents in mathematics since Terence Tao. In the middle of the conference hall, Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu clasped hands, cheering each other on. They looked at the sea of attendees, listening to the endless chatter about Tong. They heard about some big shot, Tong's academic presentation, being held at the Great Hall of the People. Their first feeling was a surge of pride. They'd been buzzing with excitement for the past few days. But when they actually arrived, seeing the tens of thousands of people in attendance, they realized the prestige and pressure Tong would face. The couple felt a surge of worry, wondering if Tong would be frightened. They were surrounded by professors from various universities, students, and social mathematics enthusiasts. The couple, who didn't know anyone else, gazed expectantly toward the stage, silently praying for their child and waiting for Wu Tong to appear. At 9 o'clock, the staff working on the stage withdrew in unison, leaving the venue largely untouched. A sudden, widespread silence descended as the leaders in the front row gazed expectantly toward the stage, awaiting the arrival of the new figure. Behind the scenes, Secretary Yang, representing the National Academy, arrived in person. As the countdown began, he smiled and asked Wu Tong, "Are you ready? Are you feeling alright, Wu Tong?" He was about to take the stage, under the gaze of over 10,000 eyes. Honestly, he was a seasoned figure, but even thinking about such a scene still made him feel a surge of pressure. "I can do it," Wu Tong nodded earnestly. She was a little nervous, but more than that, she was eager to give it a try, as if facing a stronger opponent. Wu Tong never shied away from challenges. Thoroughly prepared and confident, she felt like a warrior about to charge into battle, her edge unfurling. "Leader, I wish you immediate success." "I will. Time's up. I'm on stage. Please feel free to do as you please." Wu Tong nodded gently to Secretary Yang, then took a firm step onto the stage. She was still dressed in her uniform, a black shirt and a horse-faced skirt. The skirt's gold pattern shimmered with sparks of golden light as she walked, like a golden lotus rising from the ground, urging her on. When Wu Tong appeared on the podium, the entire 10,000-person conference hall fell silent without a word of command. Then, a thunderous applause erupted from the assembled crowd, shaking the heavens and earth. Standing in the center of the stage, Wu Tong faced the crowd, some familiar, some unfamiliar. She took a deep breath, calmed her composure, and bowed gently. "Welcome friends from all over the world, from home and abroad, and from all over China, to attend this lecture. I am the presenter, Wu Tong. Let's get straight to the point. Any even number greater than 2 can be expressed as the sum of 2 prime numbers, Euler's version of the statement." As Wu Tong spoke, the theme of the academic conference was projected on the large screen behind her. In 1742, Mr. Goldbach wrote to Mr. Euler, proposing a conjecture that any integer greater than 2 can be written as the sum of 3 prime numbers. Mr. Euler replied with another equivalent version, that is, any even number greater than 2 can be written as the sum of 2 prime numbers, which has become the most common statement of Goldbach's conjecture today. More than 200 years have passed, and today, I will put a perfect end to this unresolved historical regret. Wu Tong's firm and confident voice sounded calmly. Standing on the stage, she represented not only herself, but at this moment, she was also giving a perfect answer to her predecessors who had worked tirelessly on the path of mathematical research. "Now, let me demonstrate to you the tool I created to solve the Goldbach conjecture, the infinite group sieve method, or simply the sieve method." Wu Tong has taken the great sieve method to a new level. I see hints of the circle method, traces of group theory, and even extensions of topology. Wu's mathematical skills have reached new heights. Deline tilted his head and exclaimed to Andrew, who was watching with interest. This young man's progress was always astonishing. He had been optimistic about Wu Tong's proof since he heard the news. After all, Wu Tong had already completed 2/3 of the 8th problem of Hilbert's 23 questions. Conquering the final hurdle was a natural and highly likely outcome. After personally verifying Wu Tong's paper, he was even more certain that the Goldbach conjecture had indeed been solved. Langlands, I see another you, the hope for the grand unification of mathematics. Feynman, also a renowned child prodigy, looked to the Langlands program's founder beside him. Langlands himself had come to China to witness this miracle. They had already anticipated the brilliance that would follow the conference. She mastered sieves, circle methods, and group theory with such ease. "I'm no longer as good as her in this area," Terence Tao sighed deeply with Mr. Chu beside him. Both of them were renowned Chinese American field medal winners, and at this moment, they looked with admiration at Wu Tong, who spoke eloquently on the stage. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Connection. Look, what a brilliant little sun. Its light illuminates the world, even more brilliant than when I proved Fermat's last theorem, Andrew whispered joyfully to Deline, sharing his joy. His first presentation that year had failed. Of course, this didn't dampen his confidence and perseverance, and he successfully proved Fermat's last theorem. Deline glanced at some people. No one can compare to you. After all, this guy had set multiple records for presentations. Was it fun to tease them? Not everyone was as bad-tempered as him. Life has to have some fun. I even held presentations for fun, but Perlman didn't even hold one. Isn't that even more willful? The youngest Fields Medal winner has been born. At Wu Tong's age, he's going to be unprecedented. This was the thought that crossed the minds of all the attendees as Wu Tong's speech came to a close. Currently, the youngest Fields Medal winner is Jean-Pierre Serre, who won the Fields Medal in 1953 at the age of just 28. He remains the youngest recipient of the award, a record that remains unbroken. Wu Tong is not yet 18 years old, and she will only be 21 when the next Fields Medal is awarded. This is simply to make way for those in greater need. Even if Wu Tong is only 25, she will still be the youngest Fields medalist. However, who can force Wu Tong to make way? Who can deny that, at a rate of achievement, she will produce even more astonishing results before the next International Congress of Mathematicians? Under these circumstances, not awarding Wu Tong the Fields Medal would be a serious blow to its prestige, not a loss for her. The Fields Medal has never been given to those nearing their age. It is awarded to young people who have made significant contributions to mathematics. It's very possible that Wu Tong will lower the minimum age for the medal by 7 years, creating an insurmountable gap. At 21, while others may not even have graduated from college, she has already won the Fields Medal. In other words, she is just approaching adulthood, and at the age when others are preparing to enter college, she has already secured a Fields Medal. How astonishing! By introducing the theorem, we can see that any even number greater than 2 can be expressed as the sum of two prime numbers. I'm confident that I've given a complete answer. Wu Tong spent half of her 1.5-hour presentation explaining the method she had developed. Once the method was established, the results simply follow naturally. Once this new method was unveiled, the leading scholars in the front row understood that proving the Goldbach conjecture was merely a process. Proving the conjecture might be impressive, but for those who truly understand, the emergence of a new method is the true essence. A new method signifies new progress in mathematics, and those who truly love mathematics are always delighted by it. With no specific time limit, Wu Tong's presentation was detailed, clear, and impeccable. The experts in the front row unanimously agreed, and those in the back row with a more solid foundation also understood quite a bit. For those who truly didn't understand, there was nothing they could do. Even if Wu Tong explained it in detail, without a solid foundation, they would still not understand. Only 1% of those who truly mastered it could grasp it. There are only so many top scientists in the world. Mathematics has always been a game for geniuses. And the elite circles are even more niche. Those who came to join in the fun for the Goldbach conjecture didn't care if they didn't understand, they had already expected it. It wasn't that the presenter was bad, but that their foundation wasn't up to par. Didn't you see that the experts in the front row had no complaints? They simply wanted to witness the proof of the Goldbach conjecture in person, to later talk about it on their resumes and feel proud. As Wu Tong finished speaking, the whole room erupted in thunderous applause, lasting a long time. Led by the top experts in the front row, the entire audience stood up, thanking Wu Tong for his new contribution to mathematics, thanking him for giving the conjecture a perfect ending and removing another huge obstacle for the mathematical community. Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu applauded with all their might, their excitement nearly overwhelming them. The girl who performed so brilliantly on stage was their daughter, their Tong, the best. Look, the whole audience was paying tribute to him. Their Tong is a mathematician, a great mathematician. Wu Jingzhong felt like he could only smile foolishly at this moment, and Jin Yu wasn't much better. However, he still had a shred of common sense, and he pleaded with his lover, who was grinning so hard that his mouth reached his ears. Be reserved, give Tong some face, don't let people laugh at you. Wu Tong stood on the stage and bowed to the people paying their respects. A faint smile played on her face. This academic conference had reached the end of the 99 steps, only one step away from full approval. When the applause gradually died down, Wu Tong raised her hand and lightly tapped the attendees to take their seats. She asked the final question, does anyone have any questions? But for a long time, no one in the audience raised their hands. None of the bigwigs in the front row moved, and naturally, no one in the back had the nerve to expose their ignorance. The outcome of the entire conference, and the most important thing, was for those bigwigs in the front row. The little shrimp were only there to witness history, to truly learn. Does everyone have any questions about my presentation? Wu Tong waited a moment, a little surprised, before speaking again. Generally speaking, at an academic conference like this, especially one focused on the Goldbach conjecture, there would be plenty of people finding faults and raising questions. Although she was confident that she had prepared thoroughly, she didn't expect anyone to find fault. Wu, you should have confidence in your own rigor and thoroughness. A tall old man in the front row stood up. Hello, Wu Tong, I'm Langlands. Rather than looking for a problem with an impossible perfect answer, I would like to ask you about the entry point of your sieve method that can be connected with the Langlands program, especially the Hilbert modular form, MR. Langlands, it's a pleasure to meet you. When two prime numbers are divided, is the remainder a perfect square? The quadratic reciprocity law reveals the wonderful relationship between the prime numbers p and q. Whether the remainder of p divided by q is a perfect square is consistent with whether the remainder of q divided by p is a perfect square. Guaz once proved that. Wu Tong pondered Langland's question and then gave a perfect explanation. Cleverly building a bridge between her infinite sieve method and the Langlands program, which is regarded as the grand unification of mathematics, and relating number theory, algebraic geometry and reduced group representation theory. Their relationship is deep and close. As Wu Tong answered, the light in Langland's eyes became brighter and brighter. Those who could understand what he said in the front row couldn't help but follow his lead and were amazed. Chapter 211 Celebration. Langlands excitedly tried to open a new question, but Andrew Wiles stood up and interrupted him. Langlands, at this point, let's change it to Wu Tong proving the conjecture. Congratulations to the mathematical community for this great achievement. We can discuss this new research in a symposium after the meeting. They shouldn't use Wu Tong's academic presentation as a platform for discussion. Doing so would make people think Princeton is being ungracious, like the Chinese saying, not being discerning. Although he had already confirmed his departure from Princeton this year and would return to Oxford to teach, he still fulfilled his responsibilities. At this moment, he was the most appropriate person to rein in Langlands. My apologies, Wu Tong. I'll look forward to discussing this in depth with you after the meeting. Langlands bowed in thanks and casually joined Andrew in a seat. Indeed, he couldn't be so willful. Disrupting Wu Tong's perfectly successful academic presentation would be excessive. Since everyone has no questions, my presentation concludes here. Thank you all for traveling so far to come. I've lived up to your expectations. The lecture concluded perfectly, and Wu Tong's smile widened. She bowed deeply once again to the audience, expressing her gratitude for the long journey. The audience erupted in applause, which shook the entire venue once again. This relentless applause continued even after Wu Tong was pushed backstage, lingering for a while before gradually subsiding. All attendees, guided by staff, slowly and orderly left the venue. Wu Tong's academic lecture had concluded, but the aftermath hadn't subsided, and in fact, it had spread further. Invited official and overseas media outlets broadcast detailed accounts of the event. The phrase, "she left the world in awe," ignited the excitement of the audience watching. Uninvited photos of the event, taken from the outside, were also shared by major media outlets, sparking renewed admiration and discussion both domestically and internationally. At 18, I'm still fighting for my 211 university entrance exam, while others, under 18, are already holding academic conferences at the Great Hall of the People, attracting worldwide attention. I've become a god in one battle, my god is crowned and ascends to heaven. From now on, the world is at your feet. I'm a Peking University alumnus, and I'm deeply honored to be in the same school as Wu Tong. He. Brothers and sisters from all over the country, Wu Tong belongs to China. Am I proud to be Chinese? I am proud, for we have my God. Given the speed at which my God solves problems, if there are any problems in the future that pique my interest, we'll just have to wait and see. So happy, so happy. I offer my offerings to my God, praying for His divine presence to bless me with a successful college entrance exam. This prayer for blessing seemed to activate some kind of magic button, with the entire internet sharing it with adoration. Later, Wu Tong, upon learning of the incident, was left in a state of confusion. She truly lacked the ability to grant others their wishes. That was the realm of a true God, not something a mere mortal like her could aspire to. Wu Tong, the great hall of the people, and the Goldbach conjecture dominated the trending search lists on major websites. This popularity was driven spontaneously by the internet, not a shred of exaggeration. Children who excelled in academics have always been cherished by the Chinese people. When Wu Tong achieved such godlike academic excellence, netizens across the country, young and old, were filled with excitement and pride. This was especially true for the new generation of young people. Wu Tong became their new idol, an idol their parents enthusiastically supported and shared their attention. This was a genuine admiration. While they worried about their children's academic performance when chasing after so-called celebrity idols, they were concerned about their children's academic success. But when it came to Wu Tong, they had no problem adoring her. As the saying goes, a red plum attracts a red plum. If their children were to follow Wu Tong and emulate even a fraction of her, their future would be incredibly bright. What parent wouldn't want their child to succeed? Now, so many people are incredibly envious of Wu Tong's parents and family. Having a child like Wu Tong is truly a lifelong blessing. After their child's enlightenment, Wu Jingzhong and his wife, Jin Yu, felt the same way. That evening, national news captured the moment Wu Tong finished his presentation and the audience stood in tribute, solemnly announcing to the world the exciting news: the Goldbach conjecture had been solved by a Chinese and recognized worldwide. At that moment, Wu Tong was attending a celebratory dinner hosted by the Shengjing government and Shengjing University. The dinner was intended, first, to celebrate Wu Tong's proof of the Goldbach conjecture and second, to provide a platform for collaboration between major companies and mathematicians from China and abroad, thereby contributing to the positive development of China. Wu Tong, well done. After the lively opening, the faculty and staff of Shengjing University gathered around Wu Tong. Li Yishan, one of the representatives from Shengjing University, gave him a thumbs up, unabashedly praising him. Congratulations, Wu Tong. A world debut? Pan Wenho and Zhou Wenping successively expressed their pride, joy and excitement in a more subtle way. After half a year, Wu Tong acted decisively again and put an end to the Goldbach conjecture, becoming the pride of their school of mathematics. The proposal and the research report have been approved by the school and the higher authorities. Soon, they will give Wu Tong a surprise from Peking University. It is such a pity to use the Goldbach conjecture only for an undergraduate thesis. They have to be quick, and not give any chance to those shameless guys who are eager to poach people. Wu Tong is from their Peking University, and Wu Tong is from their School of Mathematics. They have to remember this. Hey, Wu, congratulations, you have killed a big guy again. Andrew Wiles raised his glass to Wu Tong and congratulated him with a smile. Deline and others raised their glasses together. Thank you for bringing miracles to mathematics again. Welcome professors and seniors to visit China. Thank you for your congratulations. Forgive me for using juice instead of wine. Welcome and thank you. Wu Tong raised her glass. As a minor, the only drink she was currently allowed was fruit juice. That's as it should be. Minors shouldn't even dream of tasting fine wine. The experts laughed loudly, but at the same time, they were all filled with emotion. Wu Tong was only a few months away from adulthood, and she had already achieved such brilliant results. They hoped that Wu Tong would continue to break through obstacles in mathematics and create more glories. Wu Tong, tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we will follow the example of the Bourbaki seminar. Taking advantage of the fact that everyone is here, we will have a small academic discussion at the reception hotel. We sincerely invite you to attend. There were still many people waiting to congratulate Wu Tong. The group of humorous experts did not delay for too long. After a brief exchange with Wu Tong, Langland solemnly extended the invitation. I'm honored. I will attend on time tomorrow. Wu Tong nodded seriously. Of course, She would not refuse the opportunity to communicate with so many seniors. This was a great platform for improvement. Chapter 212 Discussion. The celebration banquet was filled with clinking glasses, lively conversation, elegant music, elegant scholars of diverse temperaments, a dazzling array of delicious food, and attentive waiters. As the organizers, the Shangjing office and Shangjing University, had put in the utmost effort. The entire banquet hall was filled with a vibrant atmosphere, a joyous atmosphere permeating both host and guest. Wu Tong was the absolute center of attention, entertaining the wave of important scholars who came to congratulate her. She had to keep her smile perpetually upturned, feeling that even with her physique, her face was about to become stiff. Being the center of attention at a celebration banquet was no small feat. Wu Tong, using the presence of her teachers, quietly rubbed her stiff cheeks, drawing a laugh from the teachers who witnessed her gesture. What others could only wish for was a burden, a rarity, for Wu Tong. Seeing that the important guests had already been greeted, even some of the more socially impatient experts had already departed, she felt a pang of sadness for her own child. Pan Wenho couldn't help but say, "Wu Tong, it's getting late. You've been busy all day. Go home and rest early. Your parents are probably waiting for you to celebrate at home." Wu Tong's parents had arranged this, to prevent any leaks and potential inconvenience, by going to Peking University. Under instructions from higher-ups, they had made arrangements, with Pan Wenho being one of the responsible parties. The ones left here are basically companies and scholars interested in collaborating. Go home and relax. It won't be rude, Zhou Wenping confirmed. While business collaboration is a win-win for both government and business, there was no need to drag Wu Tong along. Wu Tong had already been considerate enough to stay until now, accepting her statement and setting up the platform for this celebration. Besides, they had the faculty and the Peking University office to back them up. Okay, thank you, Dean Pan, Teacher Zhou. I'll be leaving now. Wu Tong truly wanted to go home early to share her parents' joy. After confirming that everything was alright, she readily agreed. Quietly escorted by An Wenshu, she left the banquet and boarded Kei's car, heading home. After a restful night, she rose early for morning exercises and saw her parents off to work. They had taken yesterday off, so they couldn't afford to waste any more time today. While they worked menial jobs with limited income, Wu Tong's current financial situation meant they could support them even without working. However, Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu had never considered simply enjoying the benefits of their daughter. They had hands and feet, were still young and strong, and diligently working at their jobs, fulfilling their responsibilities, no longer needing to worry about their children. Pursuing their own careers was another positive attitude towards life. They couldn't afford to give up and leave their daughter to support them. Not burdening her was their motto. One must always have something to pursue and something to do, or else one would be wasted at such a young age. Wu Tong had a leisurely morning to herself, enjoying the spring sunshine and relaxing. It would be impossible to say she hadn't been a bit nervous these past few days. Facing the world's first academic conference on the Goldbach conjecture, held at the Great Hall of the People, a national event, Wu Tong felt confident. But she also had to be as cautious as a lion or an elephant fighting a rabbit. She still wanted to strive for perfection, so she was naturally cautious and held her nerve. Yesterday, the conference was successfully held, exceeding her expectations. Wu Tong finally relaxed. With half a day off, Wu Tong, as her teacher had advised, rested well, reclining on a lounge chair on the balcony, enjoying the warm spring sun. This rare leisure time was a wonderful experience. Feeling happy and cheerful, she left for the afternoon seminar. After greeting a group of familiar senior colleagues, everyone took their seats in the reserved conference room. The attendees were all top mathematicians in the country, including many Fields Medal winners, and even more numerous winners of Abel, Wolf, and other major awards. Andrew Wiles and the older Langlands, organizers of the symposium, took the lead with a brief opening statement, outlining the main theme of the symposium, to advance mathematics. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. There's a Chinese saying, throwing a brick to attract jade. Let me explain. While studying Wu's work, I've made a unique discovery. Wu places great emphasis on building bridges. She consistently produces results that amaze us time and again, using these bridges to connect disconnected areas, providing us with new insights on the path to truly grand unification of mathematics. Connecting everything with bridges, I've made preliminary applications of this concept in the Langlands program. Even before I proposed it, our predecessors had already conducted preliminary research. The results and methods of semi-simple Lie groups, the Selberg trace formula of Selberg et al., based on functor properties. I proposed a direct connection between these theories and number theory, as well as the rich overall structure of their conception. Langlands went on to explain his lifelong dedication to the Langlands program, hoping to witness the birth of a grand unification of mathematics. Deligne, Feynman, and even Edward Witten followed suit, and from the main stage, these two academic leaders cast their expectant gazes upon Wu Tong. Wu Tong was not vague. After nodding slightly and greeting everyone, he continued with the previous discussion. Anything that can be done to a semi-simple, or reduced, Lie group should be done to all. Therefore, once we recognize the role of some low-dimensional Lie groups, such as GL2, in modular form theory, and look back at the role of GL1 in class field theory, we can at least speculate on the situation of general GLN. The idea of cusp forms comes from the cusps on modular curves, which correspond to discrete spectra in spectral theory. In contrast, continuous spectra come from Eisenstein series. But the larger the given Lie group, the more parabolic subgroups there are, and the more complicated it is technically. There is no shortage of various techniques in such research approaches, usually based on facts such as Levy decomposition and properties of induced representations, but this field has always been difficult. In terms of modular forms, there are also aspects such as Hilbert modular forms, Siegel modular forms, and theta series. Once we find a suitable generalization of the Dirichlet L function, it will be possible to generalize the Artin reciprocity law, the holomorphic functions and Dirichlet L functions on the upper half complex plane that satisfy certain functional equations. This can be applied to a certain type of infinite-dimensional irreducible representation of the general linear group GLN on the Q-Adair ring. Every Artin L function from the finite-dimensional representation of the Galois group of a given number field is equivalent to a certain L function from the self-morphic cusp representation. The heated discussion, with sparks of thought colliding back and forth, made the participants feel deeply rewarded. Wu Tong's keenness and vast knowledge reserves once again impressed everyone. Chapter 213 Special Recruitment. She truly is the mathematical luminary who could put an end to the Gothic conjecture. Not only is she exceptionally gifted, but her accumulated knowledge is beyond the reach of countless others. Wu Tong's in-depth study of mathematics extends far beyond number theory, encompassing algebra, geometry, topology, group theory, and more. The discussion reluctantly concluded late in the evening, and the eager participants invited her to join them again tomorrow. Wu Tong, remember to check your email, Andrew Wiles reminded them with a joking smile before parting. They already knew Wu Tong was currently in high demand, and with so many interruptions, the prodigy had already turned off her phone. Even on weekdays, she rarely checked her email unless absolutely necessary. Perhaps it was only this kind of single-minded dedication that had enabled Wu Tong to achieve such remarkable results. After all, even the most gifted person could not achieve such significant accomplishments without strong self-control, self-discipline, and a love of learning. Okay, Mr. Wiles, Wu Tong, a well-behaved child, climbed into the car that Kei had come to pick her up and opened her email on Wenchu's phone. Her email had been overflowing with messages for the past 2 days, and Wenchu, who was accompanying Wu Tong on her way out, hadn't had time to process them. Wu Tong swiped through her email and saw notice from the Annals of Mathematics, just after the lecture yesterday, that the manuscript had passed the review process and would be published in the latest April issue. Wu Tong had secured another top-tier publication. Unlike regular journal submissions, which strictly followed double-blind peer review, this major breakthrough in global mathematics was reviewed by many of the world's top experts. The Annals of Mathematics also sent a list of peer reviewers: Faltings, Andrew Wiles, Terence Tao, Deligne, Langlands, and an even more prominent reviewer, Jean-Pierre Serre, the current record holder for the youngest Fields Medal laureate. A long list of names, each representing a distinguished figure and Fields Medal laureate. Everyone attended Wu Tong's presentation. They had already thoroughly studied her paper and had personally attended her presentation yesterday. Wu Tong's paper, like her presentation, was flawless and flawless. The experts immediately gave it a unanimous approval, offering special comments and urging its publication as soon as possible. Wu Tong smiled knowingly. This was great news. The faculty at Kyoto University would be delighted. Mr. Wiles had already served as a peer reviewer for her paper several times. The two-day seminar had firmly established Wu Tong's position as a leading figure in the international mathematical community. No one could deny her. The attendees were incredibly productive. Since then, invitations have poured in, and everyone is honored to have her. However, all the invitations so far have been politely declined by Wu Tong, with Wenchu as the only one she has received. It wasn't that she was arrogant or looked down on others, but rather that she had a crucial event coming up, her graduation defense. At 10 p.m. on April 2nd, Wu Tong's graduation defense, specially arranged in advance, was held in the Great Hall of Beijing University. Wu Tong, the school's announcement was so hasty, but it's okay. It's just a formality. Your academic presentation at the Great Hall of the People will be your best defense. Just wait for you to go on stage and give a brief presentation, Li Yishan quietly conveyed the school's intentions to Wu Tong in the lounge. With her impressive presentation at the Great Hall of the People, the school's defense seemed unnecessary. However, to give Wu Tong a complete experience, the school had also arranged a surprise. This graduation defense was meticulously prepared as a celebration of her graduation. Okay, I understand, Wu Tong nodded, but she still didn't intend to be perfunctory, intending to give a brief summary of the key points. When the time came, she walked from backstage to the front of the stage. When she took in the crowd, Wu Tong was surprised. Almost all the top international experts who had attended the two-day symposium were present, along with many renowned domestic scholars and academicians, as well as senior university leaders and professors from the School of Mathematics. Her brief graduation defense had surely stirred so many people. Pan Wenho personally presided over Wu Tong's defense, and with a smile, he handed the stage over to her. Wu Tong, please begin your defense. Although somewhat surprised by the large number of attendees, Wu Tong, having experienced many grand occasions, paused for a moment before calming herself and taking her place on the stage. After thanking the visiting scholars, she calmly and concisely presented her thesis from a deeper perspective. After 2 days of intellectual exchange with these leading scholars, Wu Tong had gained new insights. This is something new. With Gauss and Euler still around, Wu has made further progress. What an incredible mathematical talent. This is also a blessing for mathematics, isn't it? Whispered the top scholars Wu Tong knew well in the front row. Soon, Wu Tong's graduation defense concluded. The next session was for the instructors to ask questions. However, the instructors in the School of Mathematics didn't have the confidence to ask Wu Tong questions, especially since Wu Tong was teaching them. So, this session was replaced by Dean Pan's summary, summarizing Wu Tong's remarkable journey. From Zhou's conjecture to twins, from infinite group proofs to the sieve method. Wu Tong, with her hard work and pure research, has made outstanding contributions to the mathematical community. Now that she has summarized the Goldbach conjecture, it's time for us to earn Wu Tong's studentship, in the presence of all the leaders, professors, and leading scholars from home and abroad. Wu Tong, our university has decided to award you a doctorate. Congratulations, Wu Tong, you have successfully graduated, Dean Pan announced with a smile, inviting the president of Peking University to present Wu Tong with his undergraduate and doctoral certificates and to pin the tassel on his head. Congratulations, Wu Tong, on your graduation. The president of Peking University congratulated Wu Tong with a gracious smile, then continued, Wu Tong, Peking University sincerely invites you to join our alma mater and appoints you to the position of full professor in the Department of Mathematics. Are you willing to accept? As long as Wu Tong accepted, he would receive the highest possible settlement allowance, talent funding, and other benefits. They were essentially securing a future Fields Medal winner. They couldn't afford to be slack or evade these basic requirements simply because Wu Tong graduated from their school. I do. It's an honor to join our alma mater. Thank you for your trust. I will live up to your trust and contribute to the educational cause of our alma mater. Wu Tong nodded earnestly. This was what she had been looking forward to. Congratulations, new Professor Wu. The top experts gathered to witness the event smiled and congratulated Wu Tong. Wu Tong finally had a title that was even remotely worthy of her. They considered it disrespectful for ordinary people to address Wu Tong by her first name. Chapter 214 Responsibilities. Kyoto University simultaneously updated the information on its official website, and all the students and lecturers who noticed the update were speechless. Their seniors hadn't even graduated yet, but their so-called junior sister had already made the special leap, graduated with a doctorate, and joined Kyoto University at the rank of full professor. It's impossible to say that no one was heartbroken or upset. Teaching assistant, lecturer, assistant professor, associate professor, and finally professor. Each step was a step up, and competition for positions at Kyoto University was fierce. Once you finally get a place, you still have to accumulate experience for countless years before you can slowly move up the ranks. Many are even stuck in the same position for years. And now, a young person, not even 18, has made the leap to the top rank of full professor. How could they not be envious? However, no one could find fault with this special appointment. Those who wanted to question it, those who wanted to disagree, should first count Wu Tong's achievements. Could their combined accomplishments even compare to even a single one of his? Wu Tong joining Kyoto University as a faculty member was an honor for Kyoto University, not a necessity for him. They'd heard that countless universities, both domestic and international, had offered Wu Tong invitations, offering far superior conditions, even better than what they were currently offering, and even letting him open his own university. They'd spared no expense. Without the prestige of Wu Tong's alma mater, Peking University wouldn't have been able to retain him. Many universities were envious. If Wu Tong's contract with Peking University had simply been a sign of good fortune, a promising prospect, then when Wu Tong proved the Zhou conjecture, they marveled at the bargain, believing Peking University had struck gold, having enrolled a future leader. By the time Wu Tong proved the twin prime conjecture and the Polignac conjecture, their envy had reached a fever pitch. Now, for his thesis, Wu Tong had tackled the insurmountable mathematical mountain of Goldbach's conjecture, leaving them dizzy. They wanted to invent a time machine, time travel back to when Wu Tong was just emerging. They'd spare no expense to recruit Wu Tong to their university, leaving Peking University envious and chewing their handkerchiefs. How lucky was Kyoto University to have Wu Tong's favor and his services. So, did Kyoto University provide any particularly helpful assistance during Wu Tong's rise? No, not even a single bit of guidance. A pure effortless victory, led by Wu Tong, has skyrocketed Kyoto University's influence both domestically and internationally. It's almost enviable, enough to make one want to smack them with the sticks. How could they be so lucky? Of course, as the victim, Kyoto University has just issued a public announcement welcoming Wu Tong. The gravitas, even from the official account, is palpable. Wu Tong's popularity is currently skyrocketing, and the news immediately sparked heated discussion online. Congratulations to Wu Shen on his graduation. May Wu Shen's journey be a glorious one, and will always be with him. Congratulations to Wu Shen on his graduation and his job. Kyoto University took the initiative, and they've done a great job. They didn't let anyone steal our Wu Shen away, professor level. A position my advisor hasn't even achieved yet. Wu Shen graduated already? My second-year PhD student, Wu Shen, has just enrolled, and before he even finishes his second year, he's already graduated with a PhD. What a heartbreaking contrast. High school senior hasn't even graduated yet, but Wu Shen has already. My parents told me to learn from Wu Shen. They think so highly of me. Dimensionality reduction strikes, radiating everywhere, and at the same time, Cheyenne I a high school senior. I thought I could go to the same school as Wu Shen and become his junior, but I didn't expect that I was out of my league after all. Oh, there's another kind of relationship upstairs. Teacher-student, does Wu Shen recruit graduate students? I'll fight to the death to become his disciple. If I don't become his disciple, I'll never return. This question of whether or not he recruits graduate students has instantly become the ultimate hope of all mathematics graduate students. Many have already quietly started preparing their resumes to make themselves more competitive, ready to apply as soon as Wu Tong releases a spot. If they're lucky, they'll have a brilliant advisor and a future field award winner. Opportunities always come to those who are prepared. The early bird catches the worm. As for the fact that their advisor was younger than they were, that was nothing. Before their advisor's achievements, they felt nothing but shame. As netizens heatedly discussed the event, rapidly capturing the attention of the entire internet, Wu Tong and other senior officials from Peking University entertained the top international scholars invited to witness it, then sent them off one by one before returning to campus with the faculty. Wu Tong was in the president's office for the first time, but he wasn't overly nervous. Dean Pan and teacher Zhou were there to keep him company. Wu Tong, I'm so glad you're willing to join our alma mater, Peking University, the president beamed. He had invited Wu Tong with a certain anticipation, as the conditions offered by Peking University were far inferior to those of prestigious universities and research institutions abroad. However, Wu Tong accepted without hesitation, describing himself as honored, a move that deeply moved the faculty. Peking University was truly fortunate to have a student like Wu Tong. He felt a surge of envy from other universities these days, and he felt a surge of pride. I'm also grateful to my alma mater for wanting to keep me. As long as my alma mater is willing to keep me, I haven't considered any other options, Wu Tong said sincerely. She gets along very well with her teachers and professors at Peking University. My teachers have taken such good care of me, and our school has always given me the utmost support, allowing me ample freedom to study and research. I'm very grateful to the school and my teachers for their open-mindedness. Furthermore, her awards have never been delayed. She has received so much at Peking University. On the other hand, I thought I would have to continue my graduate studies for another year or two, but I didn't expect the school to grant me special approval to graduate. Wu Tong is still a little surprised. I'm actually a little nervous about the educational responsibilities I'm about to take on. Being a role model is more than just a literal meaning. Furthermore, she might be busy with research at any time. If she were to enter a top-secret project, she might be unable to pay attention to her students, which would be irresponsible to her students, and she still has some concerns. University students don't need a constant advisor's watchful eye. Given your heavy research workload, the school won't be assigning you many guest hours for basic lectures. Wu Tong's role is more of a supervisory role, a pillar of strength in elevating the school's academic standing. Having a mathematician like Wu Tong teach basic courses is a true waste. The school has no shortage of lecturers eager to earn extra teaching hours, but there's only one Wu Tong. After joining Kyoto University, your daily routine can continue as it is now, with freedom. The school will fully support your research, and in your free time, you can mentor a few students and offer guidance. If a student catches Wu Tong's eye and learns a little from him, it would be a tremendous boon for Kyoto University. Chapter 215 Joining the Company. The president spoke soothingly, then smiled and said, "Now that we've discussed job responsibilities, let me discuss compensation. Peking University still can't compete with international universities, so I'm sorry to have to put you in a difficult position. After discussion, your annual salary will be 3 million, with a 5 million settlement allowance and a house of the same size downstairs as your current residence. What do you think, Wu Tong? Compared to the exceptional annual salaries offered internationally, which can reach tens of millions, Peking University couldn't offer, and neither could anyone in China afford Wu Tong such a high salary. So, after much deliberation, they settled on this package. Settlement allowances and housing are fundamental requirements for recruiting outstanding talent. The salary is currently the highest they can offer. The university can't just consider Wu Tong, given his extensive experience. Giving a newcomer a $10 million annual salary would undoubtedly resent many. That wouldn't be a favor, but rather a nuisance. Although Peking University had previously awarded Wu Tong a house for his outstanding achievements, they hadn't eliminated the benefits he enjoyed as a special appointment. They would do their best to help him arrange everything they could. Wu Tong was a student at Peking University, devoted to the school. They couldn't afford to treat such a good child unfairly. Of course, that's fine. I've already treated her very well, Wu Tong nodded in confirmation, making no additional requests. The teachers and supervisors had always treated her well, and they wouldn't let her down. The money was enough. Regardless of Wu Tong's lack of interest in going abroad, even if she did, she'd have the money to spend but not the money to spend. She preferred to stay under the protection of her country, where her contributions to the nation would be more glorious. Regardless of her already adequate financial situation, the benefits she received from above, covering everything from food, clothing, and transportation, were all special and preferential. She simply wanted to make money, so she figured out some things she could do to be a good Chinese citizen. She didn't want to be treated as an inferior being abroad, she didn't have the desire to belittle herself. She was also a little worried, feeling sorry for the high salary the school was giving her. In reality, Wu Tong was overthinking it. As long as she was on campus, she would be Peking University's golden signboard. With her, Peking University, and especially its School of Mathematics, would be a dazzling force both domestically and internationally. Whether it was academic achievements, enrollment, or the intangible benefits Peking University received, they definitely far outweighed the treatment they offered Wu Tong. Ultimately, Universities nationwide were envious, wishing they could be in her presence. Peking University was reaping the rewards. Everyone present was a shrewd person. Even someone like Zhou Wenping, who leaned towards academic research, had excellent interpersonal skills. Wu Tong was as simple as a blank slate before them, and her slight concerns caught the attention of the faculty. "Don't worry, Professor Wu, your value far exceeds the treatment we can offer you," Dean Pan teased with a smile. "Before now, you were all Student Wu, but from today on, you'll all be Professor Wu." He pushed the special appointment contract in front of Wu Tong, the final step. "Ha ha ha. Yes, yes, Professor Wu." With a delighted laugh, Wu Tong signed her name, officially taking up her new position. It's already April, and the school schedule has already been arranged. For now, you'll focus on independent research this semester and won't participate in basic teaching. After leaving the principal's office, Pan Wenhui and Zhou Wenping took Wu Tong to the School of Mathematics office building, Pan Wenhui giving them careful instructions as they walked. Compared to basic teaching, Wu Tong's proof of the Goldbach conjecture will be enough to keep the School of Mathematics at Peking University profitable for at least a year. This year's academic achievement showcase will undoubtedly be dominated by the School of Mathematics at Peking University. A single proof of the Goldbach conjecture will make them proud for years to come. Wherever they go, they can say that the Goldbach conjecture was proved by Professor Wu of the School of Mathematics at Peking University, and that it's the fruit of their teaching and research. This is your office. It just so happens that there's an office vacant on the same floor as your teacher, Professor Zhou, so I've assigned you here. Pan Wenhui smiled and pointed to the two-room office next to Zhou Wenping's. The office was already labeled Professor Wu Tong's office. The door was open, revealing that the office was fully furnished with office supplies. The adjacent office also had 2 or 3 desks. Pan Wenhui emphasized the adjoining office. "This is for your future graduate student recruitment. You can start enrolling students this year." Given Wu Tong's current popularity, any news of her graduate student recruitment would likely flood the registration website. The prover of several renowned conjectures, the next Fields Medal winner, and the prover of the Goldbach conjecture, these titles carry extraordinary appeal. We can announce the details in the second half of the month and proceed with interviews. Since you're new this year, there won't be any specific tasks required of you. Generally, you'll supervise 2 or 3 graduate students a year. I'll make some preparations and discuss this with you later. Since it was a teaching assignment, Wu Tong wouldn't shy away from it, but she wanted to prepare in advance. "I need some time to get into the swing of things." Frankly, Wu Tong was a bit dazed at first to be offered the position straight out of graduation. That's the way it should be. "If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We, as older professors, can still offer some advice." Zhou Wenping nodded. The transition from student to professor was a significant one, and they had originally planned to give Wu Tong at least a year to adjust. Professors typically climb the ranks from the most junior level, through lecturer, assistant professor, and associate professor, gaining extensive teaching and research experience. Wu Tong was a specially hired recruit. Her academic achievements were perfectly aligned with her position. With just 2 years of guidance, they'd already acquired experience, so it wasn't particularly demanding. In fact, the school didn't have any hard and fast rules regarding whether Wu Tong supervised students. However, when Wu Tong had some free time, supervising a couple of students would help her with her studies and, in turn, help cultivate talent for the school. It would also silence those who, unaware of Wu Tong's importance, harbored ulterior motives and sought to harass her, thus preventing further controversy. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. "Okay, Dean Pan, Teacher Zhou," asking questions was a necessity. Having taken on this responsibility, she didn't aim for perfection, but rather for not misleading the students. "Wu Tong, congratulations, we will be colleagues from now on. My office is just downstairs, and you are always welcome to visit." Li Yishan came up and gave Wu Tong 2 pots of succulents to his office, which were for Wu Tong to put on his desk to please his eyes and help him adjust his mood. With the help of Wu Tong's benefits, he was officially selected as a senior professor this year, which was also a happy event. "Teacher Li, congratulations." Wu Tong smiled and congratulated him again. She had been working non-stop before and after the new year, and had not yet formally congratulated Teacher Li on his promotion in person. "Yes, let's be happy together." Later, Director Sun Rong of the Academic Affairs Office came over with some staff. "Professor Wu, congratulations on your graduation. I'll give you the keys to your house and accompany you to inspect it. Chapter 216 New Energy. The transfer procedures were handled directly by Peking University. The house was the same layout as Wu Tong's current residence, complete with basic furnishings and appliances, making it a move-in ready option. There was nothing much to inspect. Wu Tong was primarily cooperating with the university to complete the ceremony. After sending off Sun Rong, Li Yishan, and their companions with gratitude, Wu Tong went upstairs. Wu Jingzhong and his wife, Jin Yu, had just returned home from get-off work. They had planned to celebrate their daughter's graduation, so they made time early and arrived home as quickly as possible. Wu Tong asked Kei to help her choose and purchase a car, which she paid for, giving her father a durable and practical family car for easy commuting. After being transferred to Beijing, Wu Jingzhong's commute wasn't as convenient as home. In light traffic, it was a 20-minute drive. Instead of commuting to work, as was common at home, having a car was more convenient. Wu Jingzhong had adapted well, even though it added 20 minutes to his commute. Being able to spend time with his daughter was a significant benefit. Teacher Jin Yu's school was only one bus stop away, making it convenient for both walking and cycling. Teacher Jin is planning to buy a small electric scooter. With a twist of the control bar, it can get to school in 10 minutes. It's adorable and practical for getting around. The downside is that it can't travel far. Wu Tong pondered this and found her next research topic. With rising living standards, the number of privately owned gasoline-powered vehicles in China is rapidly increasing. Beijing has already implemented traffic controls and license plate restrictions. The number of private cars will only increase, and domestic fuel demand will continue to grow. However, China isn't a major oil producer and relies heavily on imports for fuel. Currently, it's the world's largest importer of crude oil. This sector is subject to significant restrictions and requires significant investment every year. China's enormous demand for crude oil poses a significant challenge to the country, creating a tight energy supply and hindering its development. Therefore, the government has begun supporting and vigorously developing new energy electric vehicles. However, new energy electric vehicles currently face a critical drawback: limited range. The battery is a major issue, a crucial drawback. Wu Tong thought she could give it a try. If she could overcome the current difficulties and develop a high-performance battery capable of over 1,000 kilometers, China's new energy vehicles would have great potential. This is a very valuable research direction. Wu Tong has begun collecting data on it, preparing to launch her first project after the institute delivers it. If all goes well, it would be ideal if it could be presented in time for National Day this year. Even better if it's finished early. She's not obsessed with just being ready for a holiday gift. What matters most is that the product is useful. A fresh sea base arrived today. When Wu Tong entered, Wu Jingzhong was already carving it. He was in charge of the celebration, with Jin Yu assisting him. Hearing the noise, the couple leaned out of the kitchen and greeted them with smiles. Tong, how was your graduation defense? Because it was a special arrangement with the school, Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu didn't take time off to celebrate. Intending to celebrate their child's graduation at home. Normally, they were supposed to have Saturday off, but since it happened to be Qingming Festival in 3 days, they were making up for it today and would start their holiday tomorrow. Will you continue on to graduate school? Tong wanted to continue, and the couple both supported her. Learning more and having a higher degree wouldn't hurt. It went well. I've gained some new insights over the past 2 days, and I just wanted to share them with the witnesses. Wu Tong wouldn't just chew on old ideas or be perfunctory. As for whether or not to continue studying, Wu Tong smiled and handed over her diploma and special appointment contract. In view of Wu Tong is hereby granted a doctorate, specially appointed as a full professor in the Department of Mathematics at Shengjing University. The couple took it and flipped open the document, their hearts instantly filled with ecstasy, leaving them speechless. A doctorate, a full professor. Their daughter already had a doctorate, and a professor at Shengjing University? The youngest professor ever. My daughter is amazing. Wu Jingzhong took a moment to react. Once he did, he excitedly scooped Wu Tong up and tossed her high, just like when she was little. Wu Tong smiled and matched her father's movements. Afraid that the impact of her fall might injure him, Wu Tong swiftly rolled over and landed on the ground. Jin Yu reacted immediately after being disturbed by the father and daughter's quarrel. She reached out and pinched her lover fiercely. Aren't you afraid of falling and scaring Tong? Don't you think that you are almost 50 years old? Isn't it asking for trouble if you twist your waist? If Tong falls, she won't be satisfied even if she breaks him apart. I'm just happy, Wu Jingzhong grinned. He was really too excited and happy. My daughter is amazing. Tong, take a break and tell your grandparents the good news. Daddy's made you something delicious. Let's celebrate today. As the call went out, the whole family was overjoyed. Jin Yuan said excitedly, Tong, wait a few days. Your uncle's place is almost settled. Your aunt and I will take your grandparents to visit you in Beijing. Ever since Tong was scheduled to attend Beijing University, he had been working on relocating his business center to Beijing. Now, thanks to Tong's influence, he's finally done. He's expanded his business and built the 4S dealership he'd envisioned for years, integrating sales and repairs. With a business center relocated and his sister and her husband successfully transferred ahead of them, Jin Yuan, no longer worried, hurried to get everything ready and meet up in Beijing. Okay, Uncle, Grandpa, you guys can live at home when the time comes. I'll officially start working, and there's a resettlement apartment downstairs. This time we can be closer, and from now on we'll be living upstairs and downstairs. Wu Tong happily arranged the situation. Her family came to her, and since they'd moved so far for her, she felt compelled to do her part. Oh, that's great. We can enjoy Tong's blessing now. The Jin family happily accepted the offer, not wanting to refuse out of shame. The child's kindness, coupled with the fact that they only had one child, and the idea of living upstairs and downstairs, where they could always see him, made them very happy. Sure enough, I was right. We still have to rely on Tong. Jinzin should be embarrassed. He hasn't even figured out his career yet. Tong graduates, so we still have to keep him close. These words came from their mother, Su Mifeng. She didn't compare Jinzin to Wu Tong. The two children were incomparable. Jinzin was just an average kid, a bit more impressive than most. Tong's brain was that of a rare genius. After all, she was his biological mother, so she wouldn't make such an unfair comparison. However, this didn't stop Su Mifeng from wanting to push her son to improve. A mother knows a child best. Jinzin had always been a carefree person, and his ambition needed some stimulation to unleash it. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Carbon Fiber. Tong has already reached a level beyond the reach of ordinary people. If Jinzin doesn't work harder, the difference between the two siblings is too great, and it's unrealistic to always have Tong take care of and raise Jinxin. Su Mifeng is very clear-headed, so Jinzin still has to work hard on his own. Others may be able to slack off on Jinzin, but as his own mother, if she doesn't give him more encouragement, the foundation that Tong has laid for him will easily let him go. However, with Tong's breakthrough achievements as a stimulus, Jinzin should naturally feel some motivation. Yes, he is motivated. Jinzin thinks that if he persists and doesn't let up, can he challenge himself to graduate a year early? Compared to Tong, there is no comparison. Fortunately, Jinzin has a big heart. He is happy for Wu Tong, but he can't lose his mindset and pace. However, he must push himself hard. He can't be as good as Tong, but he can't fall too far behind and hold Tong back. He should start by striving for this year's first-class scholarship. Tong is still waiting for the new Professor Wu to work on projects together. If there's a chance, please invite Professor Wu to visit our school. The instructor patted Jinzin on the shoulder, placing high hopes on him. The school had investigated Jinzin's social connections when he enrolled. At first, the teachers at the school didn't realize Wu Tong's relationship with him, but later they finally realized that their school actually had such a lucky guy. Haha, they should pay close attention to him. Who knows, even if they can train another Wu Tong, it would be a win-win for them if they can train another outstanding talent. The instructor was thinking about assigning this kid some more in-depth tasks, since he has a super powerful sister who can be called a bug cheat. Thousands of miles away, Lu Xiao, Hua Yangxing, Yang Wei and others who received the news later called to congratulate him one after another. Wu Tong had just finished a major project, and in the blink of an eye, he came up with another major theoretical achievement, graduating early and joining Peking University. They really sighed. He really deserved to be called President Wu. Lu Xiao and Wu Tong chatted for a while longer. Based on the J20's new technology, the higher-ups want to digest it and have launched the H20 project. General Zhan recommended me as chief designer, and I'd like to invite him to collaborate on the development. Wu Tong, are you interested in joining the project? This was the higher-ups' message. They felt he had mastered the J20 and wanted him to lead the H20's development. Wu Tong was still on the PL-15 project team at the time, and when the project was being discussed, they didn't expect him to be able to complete it so quickly, so they held him back. If Wu Tong were willing to join, the H20's development and transfer technology could be further advanced. Any help I can provide, just let me know. I'll do my best. I'm planning on starting a new research project, so I won't be away for a while. The project team's overall design had already been confirmed, and Wu Tong didn't want to make any further changes. Regardless, when she was needed, she wouldn't hesitate. Okay, I'll still make you a chief consultant. Once this project is completed, I'll apply for the J35 project, and I sincerely invite you to join. Lu Xiao didn't insist Wu Tong join the project team for closed-door research. Wu Tong's words were enough. Compared to the H20, which was basically a safe and steady process of technology transfer and advancement, and could be said to be developed and manufactured step by step, the J35 he anticipated later was a much greater challenge. The J20 Weilong was merely catching up to the world's advanced level, while the J35 was the key component of his plan to surpass the world's top-tier standards. No problem. According to the current international trend, composite materials are increasingly being used on super fighters. This is a difficult challenge that needs to be overcome. If I have time, I'll research this in advance. Wu Tong was honored to be invited to join the national pre-research team to add a powerful super fighter. Wu Tong immediately found her niche. Composite materials were her area of expertise. She had previously observed information on this topic, and carbon fiber composite materials were currently the mainstream. Yes, I'll leave the material research and development to you, Lu Xiao stated solemnly. He and Wu Tong both understood that for fighter jets, every gram of weight reduction not only brings significant economic benefits, but also improves the aircraft's maneuverability, giving it a clear advantage on the battlefield, a far more cost-effective investment than simple economic benefits. The more maneuverable a fighter, the higher its chances of survival on the battlefield and the less likely it is to be shot down. The economic benefits of saving a single supersonic fighter are worth hundreds of millions. Furthermore, a super-capable fighter can dominate air combat and provide blanket suppression against ground combat forces. Therefore, the world's leading nations are currently relentlessly developing the use of carbon fiber composites in advanced fighter jets. Initially, their use was limited to unimportant components, but has since expanded, with a proportion in military aircraft increasing. The United States' most advanced fighter, the F-35, uses approximately 35% carbon fiber composites, while Europe's Typhoon fighter boasts over 40% composites. Furthermore, the B-2, once the most advanced bomber in the United States, now uses nearly 50% carbon fiber composites. Domestically, carbon fiber composites started late, their development is underdeveloped, and their current use is limited. For the J20 Weilong, Wu Tong pioneered a new approach, developing and manufacturing the ultra-strong new titanium aluminum alloy T4, resulting in the Weilong's superior performance, shocking the world and surpassing even the most advanced fighter. The tensile strength of T4 titanium aluminum alloy ultimately has a limit. Carbon fiber composites, besides being lightweight, reducing the weight of fighter jets, also offer high structural strength and corrosion resistance. With special treatment, they can absorb radar waves and reduce radar reflection, thus achieving high stealth capabilities. This sector is definitely a top priority. And not just for fighter jets, but also for satellites, helicopters, drones, and other key military sectors, Wu Tong sighed, readily reciting the material's numerous advantages. However, carbon fiber composites are expensive and difficult to manufacture, making the production capabilities virtually non-existent in China. This is the main obstacle to the advancement of carbon fiber composites in China. We need carbon fiber manufacturing equipment. This was a restricted sector for China. Wu Tong regretfully pointed out the current predicament and the difficulties of national development. After in-depth research on materials, she truly understood it, no longer just the one-sided written impression she had before. Let me think of a solution first, The research and development funds were actually prepared by the country with great efforts. Fighter aircraft development requires a budget of tens of billions, which is a considerable pressure for such a huge country. Lu Xiao felt that he had to make some efforts to make some extra funds available. After in-depth cooperation and understanding Wu Tong's strong learning and research and development capabilities, Lu Xiao's previously vague ideas had a preliminary plan. He was currently preparing to implement them in a more concrete way when supervising the development of the H-20. Chapter 218 moved. The NS equation, new energy batteries, carbon fiber composites, ultrafiltration membranes. Wu Tong listed the research and development projects she planned to tackle one by one. Seeing these seemingly unrelated areas, she couldn't help but tap her head. She was really greedy, really taking on too much. The projects she had just cleared had suddenly become more challenging, and they were all incredibly challenging. However, while Wu Tong joked about her greed, she remained undeterred. Her bright eyes shone with a gleaming eagerness, a testament to her high morale. She was only afraid of not having a goal. With a goal, no matter how difficult it was, she could gradually fulfill it. In the process, Wu Tong felt fulfilled and gained a lot, and she enjoyed the process. With a goal set, it was time to start working on it. During the Qingming festival, rain fell heavily, and the family, instead of visiting graves or offering sacrifices, simply stayed home and relaxed. The holiday ended, and the three members of the Wu family returned to work. The family of three went out together. Wu Jingzhong first dropped Jin Yu off at the entrance of the affiliated primary school, then walked on and dropped his daughter off at the entrance of Peking University. He watched her get into Kei's car while he continued on his way to his workplace. On the way there, he happened to pass the affiliated primary school and Peking University. This was because both were close to their home, and Yunun was part of Peking University. Normally, he would be able to drop his wife off at school in the mornings. Tong was a rare exception today, so she skipped Kei's car and walked with him. After dropping off his wife and daughter, and serving the two most important people in his life, Wu Jingzhong felt a sense of relief and joy as he headed to work. This was the most desirable life. Wu Tong planned to go to the Materials Research Institute to prepare some materials. On the way there, she spotted a large, fenced-off area. This was the future site of her Peking University Interdisciplinary Research Center. She had already reviewed the preliminary design drawings for 3 underground and 3 above-ground floors, and they met her requirements. Construction inside was in full swing. From the outside, one could see various buildings and facilities already in place, demonstrating the rapid pace of progress. Generally, research institutes often use their names, but Wu Tong wasn't so inclined. Since it was at her alma mater, she simply went with a simple name, Peking University Interdisciplinary Research Center. Future research at the institute would be multifaceted, not monolithic. She expressed gratitude to the nation, thanking the higher-ups for their concern and support, which would facilitate her future research. Wu Tong, do you have time to come to the institute today? Elder Cheng happened to be there. Seeing Wu Tong coming in to greet him, he couldn't help but smile. You just finished a major project and graduated. Why don't you take a break? He was a little surprised. With his family by his side, he'd expected Wu Tong to take 10 days, half a month. If Wu Tong hadn't been so heavily involved in classified matters, she could still be out and about, traveling and exploring. Even if she couldn't travel much, a few days at home would be a good thing. Teacher, good morning. I've had a good rest. I need to use the lab today to prepare some materials. Wu Tong greeted. I've already rested. Resting at home all the time isn't very interesting. I prefer to continue my research. Slowly pondering new developments is a kind of relaxation for me. There's not much difference between being at home and at school. Being at school, in the lab, would be more convenient. If she had an idea, she could immediately conduct an experiment to verify it. She'd actually been asked if she wanted to go somewhere for recuperation, but Wu Tong wasn't particularly interested. Plus, her parents had just arrived in Beijing, and she wanted to spend more time with them, so she opted not to travel. Don't overwork yourself. Take your time. Feel free to use the lab. I've got this ready for a few days now. Here you go. Cheng Huinan smiled kindly, pulling a brown paper envelope from a drawer and handing it to Wu Tong. What's this? Wu Tong opened the envelope, puzzled. The familiar books inside left her a bit startled. Your second degree, materials science diploma and degree certificate. Cheng smiled broadly. To avoid drawing too much attention, I won't hold your graduation defense. We'll do it quietly. The paper you submitted to Science last year has already been published, causing quite a stir internationally. There are also various new materials that I can't discuss publicly. It's more than a mistake to give you a PhD in materials science. However, this degree is for your own enjoyment, known only to a small circle of top minds. It won't be widely publicized. Congratulations, Wu Tong. Your materials science skills are truly impressive. I'm ashamed to say there's not much I can offer you. Materials science is a vast and profound field. I hope you'll continue to strive for excellence and forge ahead. Elder Cheng offered his congratulations with a frank and satisfying smile. He hadn't actually provided much guidance to Wu Tong, merely some very basic instruction, yet he enjoyed the honor of being Wu Tong's teacher. Wu Tong treated him with all the respect a student deserves. With students like this, what more could a teacher ask for? Yes, Professor, don't worry. I will continue to forge ahead in materials science. You've done so much for me and taught me so much. It's my great honor to have you as my teacher. Thank you for all the trouble you've taken to arranging everything for me. Wu Tong expressed her gratitude, clutching her degree certificate. She hadn't expected her teacher to prepare so thoroughly for her, even helping her apply for and complete her second degree. She could only imagine the hassle and effort involved. The teacher truly took excellent care of her, assisting with projects, collaborating on materials research, strengthening her foundation in materials science, and every little bit of personal attention, all part of the teacher's meticulous care and support. She felt fortunate to have such a kind and compassionate teacher like Chang, who always considered her and gave her the utmost support when she set up a project. When a project required it, he brought his team to help her prepare it without hesitation. She was truly blessed to have such a good teacher. She knew what the teacher expected of her, and for that very reason alone, Wu Tong would never give up on her advancement in materials science. Haha. I'm looking forward to it. Wu Tong continued to create brilliance in materials science, and Cheng Huinan had no doubt about this possibility. Starting with the T4 new aviation material, Wu Tong had done too much research and development in the past 6 months that made them feel like miracles. What he knew already amazed him, and there were also secrets that he didn't know about. The country's own Wu Tong was their pride. To have such a close disciple, he could close his eyes and die happily, with peace of mind. Go ahead, if you need help, just call for help. Cheng Su is also in the lab. Wu Tong nodded, smiled, and walked out of Cheng Lao's office, putting the information bag in his own office. This was not only a degree document, but also a piece of information that the teacher had painstakingly put together. Compared to the meaning of the former, the latter was more touching. Chapter 219 Ultrafiltration. Professor Wu, you're here. Good morning, Professor Wu. As Wu Tong walked toward the lab, the researchers he encountered greeted him respectfully. After several days of settling in, and with the holiday having not affected the spread of news, the news of Wu Tong's appointment as a full professor at Peking University had spread widely. A mixture of shock and indifference, they naturally switched to formal, respectful titles upon seeing Wu Tong. They had envisioned calling him Professor Wu so many times, and now that it was a reality, they felt no discomfort. Those who had signed confidentiality agreements and conducted experiments with Wu Tong felt it was only natural. The university had finally responded effectively. Wu Tong's promotion to professorship finally freed them from the shame of being students alongside such a prodigy. Although, since Wu Tong, who was much younger than them, had already graduated and held a formal title, they still looked bad. But what was that called? They weren't in the same league, so they could just hide their feelings for a moment. If someone surpassed the average person by just a little, they would be envious. If someone surpassed them by 10 points, they would be admired. However, someone like Wu Tong, who surpassed everyone immeasurably, was a world apart. They were not to be compared to gods. Professor Wu, what can I do for you? Ruan Chengsu followed suit, but compared to the others, as a junior fellow student, his tone was more playful. However, he had to hurry up. When they first met, the junior sister was a freshman and he was a sophomore. Now, his thesis was barely finished, and the junior sister had already graduated before him. Even though he knew he couldn't match the genius of the junior sister, the gap was stark and piercing. Brother Su, you're teasing me too, Wu Tong laughed. Help me make some molecular materials, Brother Su. Wu Tong simply changed the subject. After the initial excitement of her appointment, the people around her would eventually return to their normal state. Okay, Wu Tong, you arrange it, a teasing sufficed. If it were Professor Wu, it would be a matter of estrangement between fellow students, but Ruan Chengsu is still quite capable. Honestly, construction had already begun on his junior sister's dedicated research institute, and as a senior, he had to quickly perform well and get a job there. With such a glittering backer, it would be foolish not to seize the opportunity. What materials are you planning to synthesize? What preparations are needed? Ruan Chengsu asked carefully, meticulously preparing as an assistant. This wasn't flattery, but the necessary demeanor to follow the boss's lead. Those who needed to be prodded before they could move, unless they were top-tier talents like Wu Tong, would have a hard time making it in the lab. A special silicide, starting with silicon monoxide. Let's synthesize all existing silicon oxides. Wu Tong laid out the direction clearly and without hesitation. Of the 4 research areas, Wu Tong decided to focus on completing the ultrafiltration membrane, for which he already had a foundation. This was a concept she had been pursuing, but it unexpectedly resonated with the direction of her PL-15 fuel derivation, leading to the development of a specialized silicon oxide membrane, which led to the development of N18 and N24. Wu Tong had gotten up early and conducted some quick calculations, concluding that the direction for ultrafiltration purification membranes should continue to be based on the previously developed silicide and graphene membranes. This time, Wu Tong prepared not only oriented silicon hexaoxide, but also multiple silicides. These were all basic materials, and with the assistance of Ruan Chengsu, who possessed extensive basic skills, Wu Tong made rapid progress. In just one morning, she completed a series of preparation steps and obtained more silicon oxide material. After lunch, Wu Tong resumed the experimental process, personally conducting this step, observing each silicon oxide molecule under a transmission electron microscope. As she observed, she took notes on her derivation, her mind racing. The accumulated knowledge she had accumulated served as a catalyst, helping Wu Tong determine her direction and steadily improve. Ultimately, Wu Tong spent 3 days selecting a new molecular material composed of 7 silicon dioxide atoms linked together and superimposed through a unique co-bonding effect. She called it high-density heptoxide and deposited it onto a prepared graphene membrane, trimming off any excess irregularities along the edges to create a high-density heptoxide membrane. According to Wu Tong's deductions, this high-density heptoxide possesses powerful filtering properties, exhibiting incompatibility with foreign elements. In principle, it only allows water molecules to pass through, making it a high-energy water molecule filter and a truly ultrafiltration membrane that met her expectations. It worked already, Ruan Chengsu exclaimed in disbelief as he surveyed the ultrafiltration membrane before him, which shone like a black diamond in his eyes. Even though this wasn't his first time collaborating with Wu Tong on an experiment, he was still struck by the precision and speed of her experiment. Without Wu Tong, experiments were essentially trial and error, failure, reselection, and failure again. If, after a few hundred attempts, they hit upon a viable path, everyone would thank heaven and celebrate. But following Wu Tong's experiment, they prepared the product according to Wu Tong's instructions. Wu Tong deduced the next step, and he continued the synthesis according to her instructions. Step by step, as if following a precise assembly line, the experimental results were successfully achieved. Such smoothness and precision made them almost envious and tearful. It's only partially successful. Wu Tong installed the successfully prepared ultrafiltration membrane into her makeshift water purification device, turned on the switch, and connected the power and water. Soon, a 500 milliliter glass of clear water appeared in a transparent storage container, and a slightly turbid solution in another container. Run a sample test. This step was needed to confirm the success of the ultrafiltration oxide membrane. Soon, the sample test results came back. Ruan Chengsu's eyes were filled with excitement. Wu Tong, the transparent liquid sample number 1 is confirmed to be pure water, essentially pure water. The turbid solution number 2 contains trace amounts of bacteria, heavy metals like mercury, arsenic, lead, and cadmium, as well as trace amounts of various organic and inorganic substances. After seeing the test results of the mixed solution, although he knew the amounts were extremely trace, Ruan Chengsu still felt that he wouldn't want to drink natural drinking water for several days. Alternatively, he could follow Wu Tong's example and build an ultrafiltration water purifier to filter his own drinking water. As for the fact that drinking pure water for long periods of time is not good, adding beneficial trace elements yourself is enough. They work with materials and have some basic chemistry experience, so they know the appropriate ratios of various beneficial trace elements in water. It doesn't matter if you don't know, just do a few more experiments. Chapter 220 Direction. Our ultrafiltration membrane is truly amazing. It only removes 1/1000th of the wastewater. True to its name, this superior membrane was born right before his eyes. Although he only performed minor supporting work, he felt a sense of pride. I dare say this tiny membrane has an economic value of over 100 billion, as the most essential element of human survival. Whether rich or poor, everyone desires a safe drink of water. Especially in today's world where water pollution is becoming increasingly severe and threatening human life, safe drinking water is undoubtedly a long-cherished need. While some excellent water purification technologies on the market, such as reverse osmosis membranes, can achieve the same filtering effect, they can remove up to 2/3 of the wastewater, resulting in significant waste and uneconomical use. Current water purification systems on the market have a high wastewater ratio. But now, they have ultrafiltration membranes. Wastewater is less than 1/1000th, essentially consisting of pollutants, bringing the wastewater ratio to near zero. The water molecules filtered out are clean and efficient, and the production cost is inexpensive. A water purifier equipped with this membrane would undoubtedly cause a global sensation and attract a huge demand once it is released. Even Ruan Chengsu, with a broader vision, had already envisioned a larger area, seawater filtration. Using this as a filter, China would no longer be plagued by water depletion, and the western region would have a complete solution. Wu Tong, this was a golden goose that laid golden eggs, and even a treasure of immense economic and strategic value. The ultrafiltration membrane is a temporary success, but we still have a key issue that needs to be addressed. Compared to Ruan Chengsu's excitement, Wu Tong seemed calm. After all, she had predicted such a result, now it had simply been achieved. She was delighted that her prediction had become a reality, but even more than her excitement, she was more concerned with another issue. Wu Tong glanced at the slightly cloudy liquid in the glass. How to deal with this part of the pollution is the most important thing. After all, the numerous heavy metal residues in it, like the tiny speck before them, seemed harmless. However, large-scale use, the accumulation of so much concentrated pollutants, would still pose a serious hazard. If things went wrong, they wouldn't be creating a miracle, but would instead be guilty of exacerbating environmental pollution. Speaking of pollutant treatment, Ruan Chengsu's excitement subsided and he fell silent. If pollutants were so easy to solve, the world's pollution problem wouldn't be so severe. To date, they lack an effective pollution control solution, a vexing problem that plagues the world. Without a solution, wouldn't such a remarkable ultrafiltration membrane be prevented from widespread use? Would that be a shame? Or perhaps, Wu Tong has a solution? Ruan Chengsu looked at Wu Tong expectantly. If anyone could create a miracle, in Ruan Chengsu's mind, it would have to be Wu Tong. When Wu Tong developed and manufactured the ultrafiltration membrane, did he foresee the current situation? Brother Su, you think too highly of me. I only have some ideas for the specific solution, but it's not yet complete. I need time to refine it. Let's collect this experimental data first, and then I'll continue my research and development. Wu Tong laughed. She wasn't a one-size-fits-all expert. However, facing this problem wasn't so difficult that it couldn't be tackled. Every problem has a solution, it's just a matter of finding the right direction. Regarding the solution for both organic and inorganic pollutants, Wu Tong came up with a highly effective N18 decomposition agent. This aspect was no longer a concern for her. After clarifying the distinction, the most pressing issue to address was actually something she had been considering for a long time: heavy metal pollution. These heavy metals are harmful to the human body in excess. However, they are also essential metal resources for modern society, and many are even scarce. How can these heavy metals be extracted so that they no longer become harmful pollutants but are instead recycled and reused as a viable resource? After collecting data and returning to the office, Wu Tong fell into deep thought. Various hypotheses and previous information on pollution control raced through her mind. She even had a strange thought, recalling a fictional object from a novel she had read in a previous life. It was a story about plant creation, in which the protagonist refined a special seed. When planted in water, This seed naturally absorbed and filtered the heavy metals in the water, growing and blooming into a lotus of varying colors. The petals of these lotus flowers were the result of the metals absorbed by the seed. There were also science fiction ideas, such as the miraculous Palomar Smart filter that intelligently filtered out harmful substances, restoring the water to a pristine, pollution-free state. Human imagination is boundless, though often, without theoretical basis, it often leads to laughter. However, this is also the rosy vision many people hold for environmental purification. Wu Tong now also wants to design a material, or rather, a process, that can achieve the same effect as the special plant seeds imagined by the author, effectively extracting and separating pollutants from polluted water, allowing for classified processing and conversion into useful resources. After several deductions, various ideas collided in her mind. After the Goldbach conjecture was proven, energy efficiency was further improved. Absolute deduction, absolute direction combined with sublimated absolute deduction, all efforts were put into action. A vague direction emerged in Wu Tong's mind. She picked up her pen and wrote the words reduction and adsorption on the nearby draft paper. With these two general directions, Wu Tong began to deduce how to achieve reduction. What substances could react with all or most metals? Acids? Reacting with acids to form various sulfate compounds? Oxygen? Reacting with oxygen to form various oxides? Some salts? Adsorption? What kind of adsorption capacity would be most effective? Graphite? This is a mineral composed of carbon with excellent electrical conductivity. Under certain conditions, it can rapidly adsorb precious metals such as gold and silver. Clay? Surface charge has a special property, allowing it to quickly absorb precious metals like gold and silver through an adsorption mechanism. Activated carbon? Its unique pore structure and surface charge also allow it to quickly adsorb precious metals. However, the absorption efficiency of these fast-absorbing gold-absorbing materials is unstable and affected by many factors, making them incapable of completely absorbing metal contaminants. Furthermore, after undergoing the previous reduction reaction and combining with other substances, these substances are likely to lose their effectiveness. Speaking of adsorption, there's another thing that comes to mind immediately. Magnets? They can attract iron, cobalt, nickel, and their alloys because these materials have a unique atomic structure that inherently possesses magnetic moments. Chapter 221 Strong Oxygen. Magnetic moment? Magnetism. Wu Tong's eyes flashed with surprise, and she circled the two words with a special mark. Staring at the two highlighted words, her thoughts sparked and clashed, gradually forming a lantern that illuminated the path ahead. The hazy light spread, propelling her forward again, opening a wide path through the mist far ahead. Is it possible? Imagine a substance that can react with all metals. This substance must be magnetic, highly reactive, and easily detachable. During the adsorption phase, it can be completely absorbed by a magnetic rod, transferred to another storage space, and then released to yield an extract. Furthermore, the reduction reaction must be temporary, capable of separating from the metal under certain conditions, allowing the magnetic rod to continue carrying the substance through the next cycle. Furthermore, this substance must react differently with different metals. This way, it can be processed separately to obtain the purest metal. Wu Tong listed the requirements one by one. These requirements also served as a guide for his future progress, providing the basis for his decisive deduction. He mapped out each requirement in his mind and pen, employing the large-scale screening method to its fullest potential, eliminating ineffective and interfering factors. He transformed the required data and various parameters into a precise mathematical model, deriving the desired material parameters. Gradually, a clear choice emerged before him. The smile on Wu Tong's lips grew deeper. He really wanted to achieve the targeted conversion of metals that his imagined, exotic purification plant possessed. A flash of inspiration struck him, illuminating the divine light that had been illuminating Wu Tong's deductions for a week. So, it was this. Oxygen, equally essential to human survival, is also the element that reacts most effectively with various metals and non-metallic materials. Oxidation might not normally be a favorable reaction for everyday life or mechanical surfaces. However, oxides, in many cases, are highly useful. Based on liquid oxygen, Wu Tong developed a new type of strong oxygen molecule, with a honeycomb shape and a pore structure similar to activated carbon. It is an isotopic isotope of the element oxygen. It is readily soluble in water at room temperature and pressure. However, When subjected to specific electrolysis, this strong oxygen molecule is expected to undergo a forced oxidation reaction with various metals under specified conditions. Even less reactive metals cannot escape its unwavering affinity, forcing them to react with it. Furthermore, this strong oxygen molecule possesses a certain degree of magnetic properties. Even after bonding with metals and forming oxides, this magnetic property remains intact, allowing it to be attracted by a magnetic rod, thereby achieving targeted removal from a mass of contaminated materials. When the current is removed, the forced oxidation reaction ends immediately, and the strong oxygen molecule separates from the bound metal, then absorbs the recyclable strong oxygen molecule, resulting in the extraction of the metal. Based on this foundation, Tong continued to deduce and refine the required parameters for different metals. Temperature, electrolysis, various parameters were converted and derived using mathematical formulas by Tong, resulting in the corresponding required ranges. Turning this force love into controllable form. Using varying water temperatures and voltages to force strong oxygen molecules to react with specific metals, allowing for targeted extraction and avoiding a blanket destruction and the inclusion of useless metal elements, is still not the transformation they were hoping for, and it also impacts their strategic and economic value. This is the rough approach they can currently take. Further experiments are needed to determine more precise parameters. Only with more accurate data can Tong derive more precise data. This also avoids the misconception that she possesses foresight. Her strong mathematical skills allow her to deduce that a certain range is reasonable, without a doubt. While forced deduction is possible, it's cumbersome and drains her energy. It's more efficient to conduct experiments and obtain data after they've been generated. After preliminary research and deductions finalized the design, Tong headed directly to the laboratory. Ruan Chengsu had been busy these days. While Tong was developing solutions, he was also contacting professionals to refine the design of the water purification equipment. Of course, this design only covered the shell. The core ultrafiltration membrane would naturally remain undisclosed, as this core space was reserved within the required requirements. Ruan Chengsu, having signed a confidentiality agreement, didn't even tell his own professor. Confidentiality must be maintained, starting at the very beginning. Heaven, earth, and Tong all knew, and his own limited knowledge was sufficient. The fewer people who knew, the less likely it was to leak. He simply, out of filial piety, covered the drinking water for his professor's office. Ruan Chengsu extended this small gesture to the entire lab, ensuring everyone in the lab had access to healthy, safe water. Firstly, out of a sense of sharing and honoring his professor, Ruan Chengsu wanted to make drinking water more convenient for himself. Secondly, the durability and stability of the ultrafiltration membranes, all the necessary properties needed to be repeatedly tested and the data recorded. The vast amount of safe, reliable water filtered out daily was surely more than he, his professor, and Tong could use. Waste was shameful, so he decided to keep the benefits within reach and let the lab's own staff experience it first. Ruan Chengsu quietly replaced the lab's water dispenser with well-filtered, well-mixed, and appropriately formulated water containing trace elements every day. By the way, it is convenient and safe for everyone to use, and it also saves the laboratory's drinking water expenses. He is really extremely smart. Recently, I heard that more than one person in the laboratory was impressed that the water in the laboratory has become more delicious. Ruan Chengsu felt quite proud of his achievements and fame. Ruan Chengsu specially found a container to collect and store the filtered wastewater, which has been used by Tong in later experiments. He has to assist with such trivial details. This is the meticulous work of an assistant. Otherwise, if Tong did everything, why would he need an assistant like him? He flattered Tong by relying on his junior brother status to brush up his resume on Tong's important projects without contributing a bit of effort. He is not that shameless. People always return one heart for another. He had the good fortune of being able to work closely with Tong on the project. During this process, whenever he had questions, Tong would trace the root causes and carefully analyze and explain them to him until he understood. After completing the entire project, he was able to rapidly broaden his horizons, and his level and knowledge reserve soared. This was already a huge advantage. If he was greedy anymore, he would be struck by lightning. Chapter 222 Star Sand. Brother Su, Tong stepped into the lab and saw Cheng Su, hard at work, a true comrade. The water purification equipment was operating, far superior to the makeshift setup they'd assembled earlier. It was already quite sophisticated. The floor was filled with drinking water barrels, those blue, commercially available ones. Improved output pipes connected directly to the barrels, allowing purified water to flow directly into them. The entire operation looked like a small, unmanaged factory, but a closer look revealed that the equipment and procedures were state-of-the-art, surpassing nearly every other bottled water bottling line on the market. Amazing. They've even set up the production line. Wu Tong gave him a thumbs up. Brother Su had a knack. She had barely been in the lab all week, and he'd managed it brilliantly. Ruan Chengsu chuckled. Isn't this upholding the principle of not wasting? Let's give our lab folks a taste of safe water in advance. Needless to say, he was enjoying the process. This week, he'd been conducting repeated experiments, recording data, and meticulously pondering the knowledge, techniques, and processes Wu Tong had employed in designing and developing the ultrafiltration membrane. The more he pondered, the more he felt he benefited. Whenever he encountered areas where he was lacking, he would research and fill in the gaps, working overtime to delve into specialized literature and books, broadening his horizons by a factor of 2. Seeing Wu Tong enter the lab, Ruan Chengsu couldn't help but look at him with both surprise and anticipation. Wu Tong had been secluded, searching for solutions to pollutant treatment. His appearance now meant he'd finally found a solution. The speed of his work was truly unbearable. We have a preliminary idea, but we need lab validation. Brother Su, prepare the experiments. Let's prepare the new material I've derived. Wu Tong briefly explained the rationale and principles behind her deduction. Although Wu Tong had provided a fairly detailed explanation, Ruan Chengsu felt he'd need at least a month to fully grasp this new theory. Considering that Wu Tong had only spent a week developing the entire process, from design to production. Meanwhile, just to understand and digest it would take him months. The disparity and contrast was a crushing blow. Fortunately, he had always understood that the difference between humans and gods was worlds apart. They couldn't be compared, not even to gods who had transcended the 3 realms and 5 elements. He should be happy to learn something new and improve his own abilities. While the principles still needed time to grasp, Ruan Chengsu grasped the process and the necessary equipment, and quickly prepared for the experiment. He was incredibly familiar with laboratory equipment. With everything in place, Wu Tong began the experiment. The first step was to prepare the honeycomb oxygen she had discovered and developed. After completing the preparation process step by step, the results were revealed. 3 test tubes of fine, pale blue crystals, as vibrant as star sand, encased in transparent tubes, each as delicate and beautiful as a custom-made hourglass. In nature, the more beautiful something is, the more powerful it is. These beautiful crystals were the actual honeycomb oxygen she needed. Wu Tong quietly admired her newfound success. With the actual product now prepared, her hunch became even clearer. Its function and appearance must be both beautiful and practical. Brother Su, is the electrolytic magnetic rod modified? Wu Tong asked Ruan Chengsu, who was preparing for the next experiment. Yes, it's almost done. We're installing it now. The heating apparatus is also ready. Ruan Chengsu attached the modified electrolytic magnetic rod to the robotic arm above the heating apparatus. I recently recruited a very useful person, very skilled in mechanical engineering. He's from Huaking University across the street and is about to graduate from his 3rd doctoral program. Wu Tong, I think your institute will need talent in this field in the future. Would you consider recruiting him to work under you? He provided external support for the design of the water purification equipment, the current robotic arms, the modification of the electrolytic magnetic rod. He meticulously directed the assembly remotely. His skills are truly remarkable. Although Wu Tong's institute is still under construction, this hasn't stopped her from recruiting talent and building her own team. As for the team's office space, not only are the professors absolutely willing to support it, but even the university is willing to lend space to Wu Tong's team. Sure. After you're done, Brother Su, please make an introduction for me and see if they're willing to work here. Wu Tong nodded in confirmation. This was absolutely necessary. Since early April, she'd been busy with the ultrafiltration purification project, and her team-building progress had barely reached 0. Just as Brother Su had put himself in her shoes, she truly needed to start building her own team. Experimentation isn't a one-person job. The added value of a good team is far greater than 1 + 1 = 2. Well-trained, it's a direct ratio of 1 + n. However, Everything here is still in its infancy. I wonder if anyone with talent is ready to join? Brother Su, you're about to graduate with your thesis, right? Are you planning to pursue a postdoctoral degree abroad? Are you interested in joining my team? There was a perfect candidate before her. She had collaborated with Brother Su more than once, and she was truly a talent nurtured by their teacher. With a solid foundation, skilled techniques, and a strong learning ability, and with some small achievements under her belt, she was definitely a sought-after candidate for many teams. However, due to the teacher's absence, no one had expressed interest yet. She was currently extremely short on staff. If Brother Su was willing to join, she would shamelessly go to the teacher to poach some talent and ask a junior student to volunteer for her position. Of course, I'm looking forward to it. With the invitation personally extended by the glittering figure, Ruan Chengsu felt that if he didn't seize the opportunity, he would truly be condemned by heaven and regret for the rest of his life. As one of the earliest members, he would become a veteran of a cutting-edge team like Wu Tong. I'm not leaving. He'd be foolish to leave with a leader like Wu Tong. To think he could have someone of Wu Tong's caliber guiding him? That was wishful thinking. In the future, Wu Tong's team would grow into a super team, a super research institute. His future was clearly bright. He'd only been with Wu Tong for a few days, but he could already feel his progress. The thought of being by his side for years, exposed to cutting-edge research, was thrilling. Thank you, Brother Su, for joining me. I'll talk to the teacher after the experiment is over. Brother Su couldn't be left to speak on his own. As he spoke, Ruan Chengsu also completed the final assembly. Mr. Wu, we can start the experiment. After joining Wu Tong's team, Ruan Chengsu quickly changed his identity and title. Calling him boss was too inconsistent with Wu Tong's temperament, so he used another commonly used honorific for the person in charge of the experimental project. Chapter 223 Miracle. Although the only people currently working on the research were Wu Tong and his assistant, their staffing was extremely sparse. But a project like this, let alone one with specific results, even if it was just a concept, wouldn't be considered a top-secret, major national project if it were applied for approval? Top-secret research that could change China's current predicament and turn waste into treasure. Just from the progress already made, he could already think of numerous applications. For a major project like this, he deserved the title of General Manager Wu. Brother Su, please call me Wu Tong. Calling a small team of just 2 people General Manager Wu was incredibly embarrassing. General Manager Wu, public is public, private is private. Due respect is essential. I'm the founding member of your team, and I'll be setting an example for everyone else. Admittedly, this title of first place filled him with pride. Alright, Brother Su, whatever you like, it was just a name, and Wu Tong didn't hesitate. After a few small words, she returned her attention to the experiment. By then, a sufficient amount of pollutant solution had been added to the measuring cup of the heating instrument. Wu Tong added an appropriate amount of honeycomb-strong oxygen crystals. The national regulations on tap water pollutant levels clearly stipulate that the levels are harmless to humans, and the contaminant content is too low. To better test the ultrafiltration membrane, Ruan Chengsu later chose to use tap water for purification experiments, except for the laboratory drinking water. A large portion of the wastewater collected was specially sent in, highly contaminated with heavy metals. The ultrafiltration membrane performed the same ultrafiltration effect on the highly contaminated water as it did on ordinary water, without any pressure, which amazed Ruan Chengsu more than once. Furthermore, the contamination concentration of the solution he collected was also shockingly high. Wu Tong determined the amount of solution to be added based on the current concentration of the turbid, highly contaminated wastewater solution. Seeing the honeycomb-strong oxygen crystals dissolving instantly in the water, Wu Tong instructed, Brother Su, heat the solution to 66-70 degrees Celsius and pressurize. The parameters were read out one by one, and Ruan Chengsu began to operate according to Wu Tong's instructions. The electronic thermometer displayed the correct temperature. Wu Tong manually moved the robotic arm, placing the powered electrolytic magnetic rod against the surface of the solution. Visibly, numerous honeycomb crystals of strong oxygen gold oxide, gleaming with golden light, were adsorbed onto the rod's surface. Wu Tong then moved the robotic arm and transferred the rod to a tray on the other side, where test paper was spread. He removed the power, releasing the magnetism of the rod. The fine particles of powder adsorbed to the rod instantly detached and landed on the test paper. He reapplied the power, and the honeycomb crystals of strong oxygen were once again attracted to the rod, freed from the mixed powder, and carried on their rotation to the other side, where the solution was maintained at a constant temperature and pressure. The previously pure white test paper now contained only a speck of golden powder. Brother Su, test for gold. The fact that the electrolytic magnetic rod did not attract the golden powder was already a first step in verification. However, further laboratory testing was required to determine whether it was gold. Got it, testing immediately, Ruan Chengsu breathed, carefully transferring the golden powder from the test paper into a small test tube and beginning the test. This is gold. It's like they were performing a magical alchemy, extracting gold from the wastewater, a true miracle. Everyone knows that natural water resources are contaminated by heavy metals, but now, Wu Tong has achieved a miracle. After separating out pure water molecules, he can still extract pure metals from the remaining wastewater. This is a miracle that countless people, even nations, have longed for. Wu Tong continued the cycle, varying the voltage and temperature parameters, starting with gold and silver, then moving on to copper, lead, zinc, iron, nickel, manganese, cadmium, and so on. He gradually extracted various heavy metals from the water, fully validating the powerful temporary suppression of oxidation reactions by the honeycomb oxygen. As Wu Tong separated and extracted, Ruan Chengsu conducted verification tests on various metals simultaneously, and the results gradually emerged. The powders they extracted were indeed gold, silver, copper, iron, lead, zinc, and so on. With each extraction Wu Tong performed, the metal reaction in the contaminated wastewater was reduced to near zero. Ruan Chengsu, who was simultaneously recording the data and experimental procedures, felt so stunned by the impressive separation and extraction results that he felt numb. Yet, he was still amazed again and again. Wu Tong had performed a miracle. After step-by-step extraction experiments, the heavy metal reaction in the contaminated water source was infinitely close to zero. At the end of the experiment, Wu Tong designed the addition of a predetermined amount of N18. Under the irradiation of special ultraviolet light, it killed all bacteria and converted any remaining organic and inorganic pollutants into targeted gas. Finally, the remaining water was passed through an ultrafiltration membrane, achieving a relatively perfect recycling process with no waste. However, the experimental equipment was not yet fully developed. This step of the test had actually been previously conducted at the 624th Institute, led by Tao Ran. Since Wu Tong had the data, she decided not to conduct it here. Speaking of Tao Ran, he was another talented person in molecular chemistry, and Wu Tong was itching to poach him. She wanted to inquire about Tao Ran's salary and situation there. If the opportunity arose, she would really like to invite him to join her team. Working with them before was a pleasant experience. They were even more receptive to new ideas than some older engineers. Success? Ruan Chengsu looked at the racks of test tubes before him. The small tubes were labeled accordingly. Each tube represented a pure metal powder that was harmful to humans, but in industrial applications, of immense importance. He felt an overwhelming surge of excitement. Yes, success. They had conquered another major global challenge, even transforming harmful pollution into a natural mineral resource beneficial to China. They would no longer be plagued by the torment of pollution, and the country would have a significant increase in resource reserves. Even more, with flexible application. Could those difficult to extract, low-grade ores be crushed and treated with honeycomb oxygen to extract useful mineral powder for direct use in production? This would eliminate the crushing process, resulting in a purer, impurity-free mineral powder. And what about converting seawater into freshwater resources? Could sodium chloride from seawater be extracted this way? Had they quietly conquered this challenge, making the expanded utilization of seawater resources a reality? Even though Ruan Chengsu had already anticipated Wu Tong's abilities, the level of achievement Wu Tong achieved once again surprised him. He was shocked for a long time. He personally participated in and witnessed the birth of a scientific research result that could be called a miracle. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Reflection. Admired, Ruan Chengsu gave a thumbs up, sighing deeply. As expected of Wu Tong, Everyone said she was a rising star in mathematics. That was kept secret, and outsiders never understood the dazzling brilliance of Wu Tong's talent in materials engineering, which rivaled her mathematical achievements in every way, if not surpassing them. While he hadn't shown much pride in himself, he was content with his talent and accomplishments. With prestigious universities, renowned teachers, and small achievements under his belt, he had at first glance seemed like a future scientific elite, a key talent. But meeting Wu Tong, witnessing the few glimpses of his junior sister's success, and most importantly, realizing someone more talented than him was working even harder, completely soothed him. "Thank you, Brother Su, for all your hard work. The experiment went smoothly. Thanks to you, the experiment completed successfully, achieving the desired results," and Wu Tong was delighted. He cooperated with Ruan Chengsu and bowed in gratitude. She was truly grateful. Ruan Chengsu single-handedly oversaw the ongoing wastewater collection and the renovation of the lab equipment. She'd merely outlined the requirements, but everything had been realized. The experiments were progressing smoothly and were completed so quickly, thanks in no small part to her junior brother. Ruan Chengsu was overjoyed. It was naturally a joy for Wu Tong to see his dedication. However, he felt a bit embarrassed to admit his own contribution. He rubbed the back of his head. "I just did what anyone could do. Someone else could have done the menial tasks with Wu Tong, but Wu Tong's R&D and design were unmatched. We each performed our duties and collaborated, and this is how we've achieved this. Junior brother, don't be so self-deprecating. Let's not brag about each other. Let's organize the experimental data, report it, and try to apply for a major project," Wu Tong arranged with a smile. She preferred to put the research results into use, rather than just letting them sit there, gathering dust, like a collection. This ultrafiltration membrane and pollution treatment method can be used independently or as a supplement to an 18, depending on the overall needs. Wu Tong felt she needed to develop a comprehensive implementation plan to maximize the value of these discoveries. Although she knew the government would not waste such research, she still wanted to be as dedicated as possible. As the developer and creator of these discoveries, and arguably the person who best understood their essence and application, Wu Tong wanted to explain their impact as thoroughly as possible to facilitate future users. With all the experimental data collected, Ruan Chengsu requested, "I'll run more replicated experiments and collect more detailed data. A single success could be dismissed as a fluke. Only repeatable and sustainable experimental data truly validates the project." Every product Wu Tong developed and created was an instant success. However, Ruan Chengsu decided to go the extra mile to address any remaining shortcomings that might lead to criticism. There are always those who find fault with national projects. Doing more is not too much, and that's where he can contribute his value. "Okay, Brother Su, I'll leave the replication experiment to you." Wu Tong entrusted it to him. It was wonderful to have help. Whether she had thought of something in place or not, there was someone to help her. Filling in gaps, handling trivial matters, and making detailed preparations. Wu Tong increasingly realized the importance of a good team. Her research was progressing relatively smoothly, and with the exception of mathematics, she could complete it alone, but the support of the school was indispensable. In materials engineering, she relied on the assistance of a mature team. In the lab, she had the support of her teachers and their team. At the 624th Institute, with the support of President Hu of Hua Yangxing, as well as the support of the team from the 624th Institute and President Hu, the experiments and projects progressed smoothly and achieved transcendent success. Because she had the constant support of experienced and top-notch experts, like her teachers and President Hu, Wu Tong didn't feel overly emotional at the time. Her heart was primarily focused on advancing the project and overcoming difficulties. Now that she is about to take over an entire laboratory, and a laboratory that is starting from scratch, Wu Tong has realized that she had been too complacent before and deeply understood the importance of the team. She should thank her junior brother for reminding her in time, which made her realize this. Otherwise, she would have to wait until the handover of the institute and faced with all the blankness before she could react. After realizing this, Wu Tong made a conscious plan. If the institute wants to develop well, it needs funds and manpower. As the saying goes, if you want a horse to run, you have to feed it with grass. If you want to recruit good talents, excellent treatment is essential. Otherwise, why would people jump to work with her? In her future memories, life at the bottom has taught her that few people will be receptive to the so-called dedication of just shouting slogans. Even if someone values her scientific research results and reputation and comes to join her for a while, it will not last long. Wu Tong reflected on herself. Since her awakening, she had been in a relatively simple and pure learning and research environment, with caring teachers and support from the university. From her academic achievements in mathematics to her cross-disciplinary achievements in materials engineering, everything had progressed smoothly and rapidly, with little to no worries for her. She felt that she had made almost no progress in personnel matters, feeling that this aspect was too weak. She was grateful to her management experience teacher and president to offer their guidance, as she had accumulated some experience in project management and was relatively proficient in project management. However, when it came to the establishment and routines of an entire research institute, how to operate it, how to attract funds, how to train and develop personnel, Wu Tong felt that she still lacked a lot and had a lot to learn. She first returned to her office and began to carefully organize and explain the performance data of the entire set of ultrafiltration and pollution treatment results she had collected, as well as her ideas for its application. Just talking about writing a business plan, launching it, and promoting it, Wu Tong was a bit hesitant. She'd never been afraid of research or academic work, always tackling challenges head-on, but writing a business plan was a bit unfamiliar to her. She had never dabbled in it before, and her background was somewhat limited. This was another key area where she needed help. Ask when you don't understand. Wu Tong never gets carried away by her achievements, becoming arrogant and looking down on others, thinking she's the best in the world. So-called geniuses are like the great men of history. After all, no one is perfect, and everyone has their weaknesses. Ask when you don't understand, learn when you don't know. There's nothing shameful about asking for advice. Looking through the people she knew, Wu Tong felt she needed help. The first person, and the most convenient one, was naturally her teacher, Cheng Huanan. At his age, his academic prowess, experimental research experience, and personal life experience were all fresh and relevant, and he could offer her a wealth of guidance. Asking for advice was the most appropriate choice. Chapter 225 Guidance. Carrying a half-finished plan, Wu Tong knocked on Cheng Huanan's office door. Teacher, I don't come here for no reason. I've come to seek your advice. Wu Tong smiled as he pushed open the door and greeted Cheng Huanan with a casual manner. Cheng Huanan was surprised and delighted that he could still guide Wu Tong, and was also pleased that his mentor could answer questions and resolve doubts. Okay, tell me more about it, and let's discuss it together. Cheng Huanan agreed without hesitation, but he didn't boast that he could solve any problem. Wu Tong's skills were now surpassing his own, and he was only slightly better than his own. Even if there were still problems that stumped Wu Tong, he wouldn't dare to claim he could solve them. He couldn't pretend to know what he didn't know and mislead Wu Tong, as that would be embarrassing. He knew Wu Tong was working on an important project, and given Wu Tong's consistently impressive and confidential research, Cheng Huanan strictly adhered to confidentiality regulations and refused to pry into his research, even at his own institute. Ever since I started researching materials, I've relied on your presence and your help. Later, when I joined President Hu, he assisted me in steering the ship. I didn't realize the importance of a team before, but when I saw the research institute under construction a few days ago, I realized I had nothing at all. I can't even support a research institute. It's a bit overwhelming, Wu Tong frankly stated her current predicament. Also, I have a new research result that improves on the ultrafiltration purification project I mentioned earlier. It has some economic value. I'd like to find someone reliable and good at planning to help me draft an operational plan and submit it. Manpower is a problem, Cheng Huanan pondered. The young apprentice's rise was too rapid, and his network of connections couldn't keep up with her speed. However, this wasn't a particularly difficult issue. If they were short on staff, they could use loaners or poaching. Although the young apprentice was young and inexperienced, her achievements were remarkable. If she spread the word, she'd surely be joined by many. However, in this way, there will inevitably be some people with mixed backgrounds, which will require a lot of effort to screen, and their abilities will also be uneven, like searching for a needle in a haystack to find them. In addition, there are people who come from internal recommendations, which will be more traceable and reliable. Is your junior brother working well with you? I recommend the talented regardless of personal connections. I will first recommend Cheng Su to you. Your senior brother and his colleagues have also taught some students over the years. If you are not too demanding of an outstanding talent like you, I can ask if there is anyone who can recommend a suitable candidate. Cheng Huinan has many students over the years. If you don't really need top talents, you can find a group of auxiliary assistants. Except for some extremely outstanding graduates who will have a job before graduation, it is not easy for ordinary graduates to find a suitable job. With your abilities, you actually need a strong and mature support team to match you. However, most mature teams have their own styles. If you accept them all of a sudden, you will waste too much time trying to master them. It would be better to form a team of your own and get to know them better. You are still young, so there is no need to rush. First, you need to complete the basic staffing and set up the team. I can't say how successful the students taught by your seniors will be in the future, but they will be proficient in basic experimental operations. Also, the higher-ups won't just set up an empty research institute for you. They will still help you with the equipment and basic manpower. The source of this internal staff will be more reliable and secure. This is to prepare for finding some helpers. If there are any outstanding ones among them, we can slowly train them ourselves. If you come across the right talent, you can also look for them yourself. We will also help you keep an eye out for news. Security forces will be arranged by the security department, and there should be auxiliary management personnel as well. For a research institute, as long as you grasp the general direction of your research, the entire institute will revolve around you, and you don't need to worry too much. As someone with some experience, Cheng Huinan's perspective was more comprehensive than that of the still green Ruan Chengsu and the inexperienced Wu Tong. Wu Tong's time and energy would not be wasted. Wu Tong's time was precious. Time spent on chores could potentially yield another significant success. Given the benefits Wu Tong's research would bring, helping her organize and manage the institute, centering it around her, was a natural responsibility. Once Wu Tong had overcome the initial friction and established sufficient authority, she would be able to enforce her orders and make the entire institute serve her with unwavering loyalty. Cheng Huinan meticulously analyzed and guided Wu Tong, helping her clarify her role. Okay, thank you, teacher and fellow students, for your help. Wu Tong listened attentively to the teacher's advice and nodded earnestly. There was no shame in asking for help from her teachers. She would repay the favors she owed them over time. You can't eat a fat man in one bite. She hadn't planned to accomplish everything all at once, with a team of talented individuals, each with their own unique responsibilities. It wasn't realistic. She'd first needed a few reliable people to help Brother Su with the mundane tasks, to keep the experiments running smoothly. For now, that was enough for her. She had a somewhat unfortunate habit of being a bit too independent, whether working on math projects or materials engineering research. She typically only launched experiments after meticulously developing a nearly complete design. Experimentation served more as a validation tool than a series of trial and error. The upside was that she was less dependent on assistants and her team. A few people capable of basic experimental work were enough to get the institute up and running. But there were also downsides. Her focus was limited, and this also limited her research. Thank you, Professor, for giving me this opportunity. Brother Su is a great help to me. He's incredibly thoughtful and meticulous, but I'm sorry to see you, Wu Tong said apologetically. She hadn't yet given much back to her teacher, but instead was trying to poach his talented staff. Brother Su was also very useful to the teacher, assisting the teacher in managing the institute and arranging experiments. Brother Su's abilities were also honed step by step in this way. That's fine. That's fine. Your junior brother can also gain more experience by following you. He will gain more knowledge and experience, and will be able to improve and develop better in the future. Cheng Huinan waved his hand. He accepted and trained students so that they could achieve good results and contribute more to the country, not just to help him. Are there such people in the scientific research community who exploit and tie down students? This is definitely inevitable. He cannot control the overall environment, but he can insist that he is not that kind of scumbag mentor. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.